In just 2 days, an incredible event unfolds. An interstellar visitor hurtling through space at 137,000 miles per hour will zip past Mars at a distance of only 18 million meters. For the very first time, we'll snap photos of it with groundbreaking clarity. But that's where the strangeness ramps up. This entity weighs a staggering 33 billion tons. That's 3 to 5 orders of magnitude more massive than any other extrasolar body we've ever spotted. It lacks a comet tail, despite ejecting 150 kilograms of material per second into the void. Instead, its eerie light shines ahead, not behind. It releases nickel, but no iron, defying fundamental chemical principles. Plus, its path lies perfectly flat along our solar system's ecliptic plane, a fluke with just a zero. Too likelihood of happening by chance. Avi Loeb from Harvard, the expert who dissected Oumuamua, rates this interloper a solid 6 out of 10 on his alien tech scale. Not a lowball guess, but 6 out of 10. At the same time, NASA has dropped peer-reviewed findings hinting at ancient microbial life preserved in those bizarre leopard print rocks on the red planet. That same week, HSBC made history as the initial bank to deploy quantum computing for live financial trades, outpacing traditional systems by 34. GPT-5 rolled out, sparking user backlash who branded it neutered and soulless. Meanwhile, a reactor held steady nuclear fusion for a full 22 minutes, and China's CO2 output fell for the first time ever. Welcome to October 2025, where scientific progress accelerates so wildly that last week's wonders feel dated already. Over the coming 2 hours, we'll link every puzzle piece, from the cosmic oddity brushing by Mars in 48 hours to the biosignatures NASA unearthed in primordial Martian sediment, from quantum tech hitting Wall Street floors to the AI revolt over its apparent emasculation. From bringing back 12 vanished bird species to breakthrough treatments vanquishing ailments once deemed hopeless. Certain tales got swept under the rug by major outlets. Others they covered but missed the deeper ramifications, and a handful they're deliberately dodging. This is the cutting-edge science they're desperate to keep fragmented. October 2025 is here, and it's about to turn wildly fascinating. If you're geared up for the plunge, smash that like and subscribe. Drop in the comments where you're tuning in from, the local time, and the oddest encounter you've ever had. Let's jump in. Chapter 1. 3I Atlas, linking the threads of the enigma. Right now, 3I Atlas sits under 48 hours from its nearest swing by Mars. If you've tracked this saga, you're aware of the anomalous forward-pointing radiance that defies logic. You've read Loeb's analysis highlighting its absurdly elevated mass. You've witnessed the theories, the dismissals, the rebuttals to those dismissals. Yet one link you might have overlooked is the synchronized spectacle on October 3rd, when several probes swivel their lenses toward this visitor all at once. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, China's Tianwen-1, ESA's Mars Express, and the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. They're teaming up to grab shots at a pixel scale of 30 kilometers unprecedented detail. It might not wow at first glance, but consider the payoff. We'll finally distinguish the core of this thing from its enveloping haze of particles. We'll discern its true form, terrain details, and if it's spinning chaotically or maneuvering deliberately. What elevates this to extraordinary is the backstory. These missions' crews weren't gearing up for it originally. Martian satellites focus on the planet itself, not snapping pics of distant specks light years out. But once astronomers clocked that 3I Atlas would graze this near-within clear imaging range for orbital craft, panic set in. Schedules got overhauled. Instrument slots, which usually demand months of vetting, shifted in mere days. Why the rush? Simple. Windows like this vanish forever. 3I Atlas barrels along at interstellar speeds. After swinging past Mars, the comet heads deeper into the solar system, hitting its closest point to the Sun on October 29th. Then, it's ejected outward into the vastness of space by solar gravity, speeding away from us indefinitely. We have just a single opportunity, a brief opening, and it begins in 2 days. This is where the most recent findings prove essential. 6 days back, Avi Loeb and his team released a fresh study. Not some preliminary draft or casual write-up, but a rigorously reviewed piece that endured intense scientific examination. Its discoveries have completely shifted the discussion. The research examined more than 4,000 sightings of 3I Atlas gathered from 227 global observatories from May 15th through September 23rd. Their focus was on a particular phenomenon, non-gravitational speeding up. As a comet nears the Sun, surface ice shifts straight from solid to vapor through sublimation. This gas release functions like small propulsion jets, nudging the comet away from its pure gravity-driven course. We've observed this in every dynamic comet examined so far. It's a hallmark feature of these wanderers. Yet 3I Atlas displays zero noticeable non-gravitational speedup. Zilch, let that resonate. The Webb Space Telescope verified that this body sheds 150 kilotons of substance per second. That's 330 pounds of matter blasted into the void each second. The expulsion velocity reaches 440 minutes, roughly 1,000 hours. This isn't a minor influence. It's a powerful, ongoing propulsion force active for months. Still, when you chart 3I Atlas's path with pinpoint accuracy from countless measurements, it adheres strictly to gravitational expectations. The leftover speed up, the difference from pure gravity forecasts, falls below 15 meters per day squared. For context, that's roughly 100,000th of Earth's surface pull, basically nothing. How can such a sustained, immense thrust produce virtually no motion change? There's just one explanation. The body must possess outrageous mass, so immense that the push, despite its scale, is insignificant against the object's resistance to change. The math is simple. Based on the detected mass ejection rate and gas velocity, the absence of detectable speedup points to at least 33 billion tons in mass. 33 billion tons. That suggests a smallest width of 5 kilometers. At solid density, 5 kilometers falls short of 20 kilometers. It's below initial guesses from luminosity data, but it's enormous regardless. It ranks at the upper limit of sizes permitted by Hubble data, and it's still 3 to 5 orders of magnitude heavier than Oumuamua. Now comes the puzzle no one has solved well. Where do 33 billion-ton interstellar visitors originate? The supply of dense elements across interstellar voids is finite. Stony stuff, the material of worlds and minor planets, must get hurled from star systems. Worlds coalesce near stars. As those systems develop, certain debris gets scattered into the galactic expanse via gravity tugs. That's the source of Oumuamua. That's where 2 ice borers originated. That's our pool of candidates. But that pool follows a size pattern. Tiny pieces abound. Big ones are scarce, dropping off sharply. Run the numbers, as Lowe's Group did in their work, and the interstellar rocky supply could only send a 20-kilometer stone to the Sun's vicinity once per 10,000 years. Even if you cram every bit of available interstellar rock into 20-kilometer lumps, which is wildly generous, you'd still manage just one every 10,000 years. We've been diligently hunting interstellar intruders for under 10 years, and we've spotted one. The chance of that occurring randomly is minuscule. It's like acquiring a lottery ticket and hitting the jackpot right away feels just as improbable. That is, unless we confront some troubling scenarios, unless our assumed size distribution turns out to be incorrect. Unless there's a group of enormous interstellar bodies that ignore the statistical patterns we've drawn from examining our solar system. Unless 3I Atlas isn't merely a stray piece of ice and stone drifting by chance. Unless it's something different entirely. Loeb assigns it a 6 on his rating system, 6 out of 10. He designed this scale just for cases like these. 0 indicates it's unquestionably natural. 10 suggests it's clearly artificial. 6 implies the proof is strong enough that we can't brush aside the idea outright, yet not so decisive that we can eliminate natural causes. 6 signals we require additional information, and in 2 days we'll obtain it. The high-resolution camera aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter will snap photographs. Should the core exceed 5 km in diameter, if the observed glow stems mainly from a solid body instead of a hazy dust envelope, then a natural origin becomes impossible to sustain. There's no feasible method to cram such density into interstellar voids, and spot it on our third attempt. The probabilities shatter and the framework unravels. However, if the core proves tiny, if the bulk of the luminosity arises from a widespread halo of gas and dust encircling a fairly ordinary center, then we're dealing with an odd yet fundamentally ordinary comet. Peculiar, absolutely deviant in its composition, and missing a clear tail for sure, but accountable through established physical principles. Two possible results, each carrying starkly contrasting consequences, with the resolution due on October 3rd. Now, let's delve into the composition, as this is where the real oddities emerge. Various spectral analyses have verified that 3I Atlas is releasing nickel, not iron-nickel specifically. In all natural celestial bodies we've examined, nickel and iron appear paired. They're chemically alike, originate under comparable circumstances, and spotting one in a spectrum means detecting the other too. The proportions differ, but they're invariably both detectable. 3 Atlas displays nickel alone, devoid of iron. The readings are clear-cut without doubt. Nickel signatures appear, iron ones do not. This isn't iron lurking below sensitivity levels. The equipment is precise enough. At anticipated ratios, we'd detect it if present. We don't. No solid natural rationale accounts for this. No known stellar fusion mechanism produces nickel in isolation from iron. Post-formation chemical division is impossible, given their near-identical behaviors. Selective removal via evaporation or other surface effects won't work either, as they vaporize at alike temperatures. The elemental rules simply don't hold. Yet there it stands, nickel sans iron, an indicator that defies logic, holding firm across repeated scans. Then consider the path. You've likely heard of the ecliptic match, how 3I Atlas moves nearly exactly along the plane shared by the solar system's worlds. A mere 0.2 chance, infrequent yet feasible. Odd alignments occur, but the route boasts further traits that layer improbability on improbability. Its path draws 3I Atlas remarkably near Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, not as near to Earth as the closest pass, but nearer than a haphazard interstellar course would permit. The shortest orbital overlap with Mars. The nearest 3I Atlas's trajectory gets to Mars's full path measures just 7 million kilometers. That's roughly 7 times the Earth-Moon separation for an interloper from interstellar realms on a course fixed millions or billions of years back. Brushing that near a planet's orbit demands exquisite calibration, meticulous adjustment. Layer these factors. The mass, the chemical makeup, the path it follows, the absence of extra push from non-gravity forces even with evident gas emissions, the bright shine pointing ahead rather than a tail dragging behind. Each detail on its own seems peculiar. Certain ones might have plausible reasons, although those reasons typically involve rare scenarios or atypical setups, yet all combined in a single entity. This is the essence of what Lowe indicates by rating it a 6. Not that one oddity seals the deal, but rather the buildup of irregularities, the grouping of unlikely stats and bizarre physical traits within one item, reaches a threshold that calls for genuine exploration of other possibilities. Thus, we hold out for 48 hours. Humanity's top-tier telescopes positioned near another world, focused on an interloper from outside our solar system, gathering light particles that could reveal if we're observing the most uncommon natural comet discovered or an entity that challenges all natural laws completely. October 3rd, 2025. Remember the date. Regardless of the outcome, we're on the verge of gaining deep insights into our cosmic position. Chapter 2, Life on Mars, the Rocks with Leopard Spots. As the globe observes the 3I Atlas units nearing Mars, an equally remarkable discovery has lingered in a sealed container on the red planet's ground for more than a year. And just 3 weeks back, it cleared the toughest hurdle in scientific validation: peer review. On September 10, 2025, the journal Nature released a study that NASA had held, examined, discussed, and inspected for 14 months. The study details a stone specimen gathered by the Perseverance rover back in July 2024. A specimen dubbed Sapphire Canyon. Its uniqueness stems not only from its contents, but from the potential implications of those elements. The stone bears the formal title Cha Falls. It draws its name from a cascade in the Grand Canyon, adhering to the mission's custom of drawing from Earth-based features. Perseverance came across it during a survey of the Bright Angel Formation, a series of craggy ledges along the borders of Naret Vales. Naret Vales represents an old river gorge etched out billions of years prior, when waters surged into Jezero crater with such power that it shifted massive boulders comparable to vehicles. Upon the rover's initial capture of Chayava Falls in imagery, the research group spotted an anomaly. The stone's exterior featured spots, not mere haphazard dents or erosion marks, but actual spots, clear patterns resembling a leopard's coat in shades spanning from light white to intense black, interspersed with hints of green and blue. Here on Earth, such designs emerge in precise settings where chemical processes and biological activity overlap. The rover carries two tools ideally suited for such probes: PIXL, the planetary device for X-ray lithochemistry, and SHERLOC, which scans potential life zones using Raman spectroscopy and luminescence to detect organics and compounds. Indeed, they named it SHERLOC. Researchers do have a playful side. These devices allow for breakdown of a rock's elemental structure at tiny levels without any need to bore into it. They spot minerals, pick up on organic materials, and chart the spread of various substances over a surface. Their findings in Chayava Falls resemble a blueprint for prehistoric tiny life forms. To start, the rock consists of finely textured mudstone. On our planet, mudstones develop in serene aquatic zones, like lake bottoms or river mouths, where particles sink gradually from quiet waters. This aligns seamlessly with Jezero crater's documented past. Some 3.5 billion years ago, it served as a lake nourished by streams that eroded the crater's edge, layering down sediments that hardened into rock over time. Such fine mudstones excel at safeguarding signs of life. The minuscule grains bind closely, forming a framework that can encase and shield organic bits for eons. Should tiny organisms have thrived in that long-ago Martian lake, mudstones represent precisely the kind of environment where we'd expect to uncover signs of such activity. Next, consider the elemental makeup. The sensors picked up oxidized iron essentially rust in substantial levels, far beyond mere traces. They also registered phosphorus, a vital ingredient for life on our planet, serving as a crucial building block in DNA, RNA, and ATP, which powers energy storage and transport within cells. Sulfur appeared in various compounds, alongside organic carbon molecules built around carbon atoms. Keep in mind, organic doesn't inherently imply a biological origin. These structures can arise from non-living chemical reactions alone. After all, meteorites and cosmic dust clouds are full of them. Yet, when you factor in organic carbon paired with mudstone, phosphorus, sulfur, and iron, the range of explanations shrinks dramatically. Location plays a role as well. Those leopard-like spots aren't evenly spread. Detailed chemical scans revealed that the spots are rich in particular minerals, vivianite and greigite, which are forms of iron phosphate and iron sulfide in that order. Here on Earth, vivianite and greigite develop under cool conditions via redox cycling. Those are the reduction-oxidation processes. And that's the crucial insight. In terrestrial muddy deposits, the strongest driver of intense redox cycling typically comes from microbes. Picture it like this: microorganisms require fuel to survive. They obtain it by shuffling electrons. In our world's sediments, countless such organisms break down organic material while relying on oxidized iron or sulfate as electron receivers. They essentially respire rust, much like we inhale oxygen. This process alters the surrounding chemistry, generating tiny zones with varying oxidation levels. Gradually, these chemical differences lead to the deposition of unique mineral types. The resulting patterns mirror the energy processing habits of the microbial groups involved. The leopard spots in Cha Falls display this exact arrangement: tiny millimeter-scale clusters packed with vivianite and greigite, encircled by subtly varied mineral mixes. Such organized layouts are what we link to life processes back home. However, and this is essential, we can't claim biology as the sole cause with certainty. That's the reason the study employs potential biosignature. A biosignature refers to clues that might point to ancient or ongoing life. Adding potential recognizes the need for additional evidence to draw firm judgments. Other interpretations are out there, but they seem improbable when viewing the whole scenario. For instance, everything could stem from non-biological reactions. Intense heat from volcanoes or asteroid strikes might produce certain minerals. Still, the researchers examined the stone's grain and crystalline makeup. No signs of thermal alteration appeared. These are low-temperature formations, created in chilly water, which eliminates heat-based mechanisms and limits non-living possibilities sharply. A further option concerns the timeline of formation. Organic compounds might have arrived from outer space via meteorites or cosmic particles. Iron-based minerals could have arisen from later groundwater flow after the water body vanished. The spot patterns might be random. Each element of the evidence could have its own disconnected cause. Sure, that's conceivable, but it demands a series of unrelated events aligning perfectly in one sample. Occam's razor, the idea that straightforward accounts are usually preferable, begins to tilt toward a biological interpretation. Not proven beyond doubt, not absolute, but compelling enough for the research group, following extensive review and discussion over a year, to label it a potential biosignature and share their findings in a top-tier scientific publication. Joel Harowitz of Stony Brook University, the paper's primary author, expressed it, "The mix of chemical elements detected in the Bright Angel Formation might have served as a plentiful energy supply for microbial life processes." However, spotting these intriguing chemical indicators in the results didn't automatically point to a biological marker. It was essential to scrutinize the implications of that information thoroughly. Such precise wording matters a great deal. At this stage of research, science avoids hasty judgments. Instead, it involves evaluating proof, exploring other possibilities, and openly acknowledging ambiguities. The researchers are essentially stating, this is our discovery. This is its potential significance. And this is what remains unresolved. That unresolved aspect is precisely where the impatience arises. Sapphire Canyon remains enclosed in a secure container on Mars. The rover's tools are impressive, highly advanced feats of technology. Yet they face restrictions from their compact design, mass limitations, and energy limits. They can't conduct isotope studies. They can't run detailed electron microscope scans. They aren't equipped for the multitude of examinations that Earth-based labs can perform. To conclusively assess if the leopard spots in Chai Falls stem from biological origins or non-living processes, we must transport Sapphire Canyon back to Earth. It requires access to facilities equipped with every possible testing method, allowing direct comparisons to Earth-based specimens and definitive elimination of non-biological causes rather than mere likelihoods. Mars sample return was always the intended path forward. It formed the core of the strategy from the start. Perseverance isn't merely surveying the planet, it's gathering carefully selected samples for their research potential and enclosing them in tubes built to preserve their integrity during the trip home. To date, the rover has gathered 30 such samples. Sapphire Canyon is one of them. The overall mission design involved collaboration between NASA and ESA on an intricate procedure. A retrieval rover would pick up the samples from Perseverance or from surface storage sites. A Mars launch vehicle would propel them into space. An orbiting craft from Earth would retrieve them and deliver them back. Ground-based containment sites would handle them under rigorous anti-contamination measures. That was the original blueprint, but now it's in doubt. Escalating expenses, engineering hurdles, and policy demands have put it at risk. The project's budget has far exceeded early projections. Lawmakers have begun demanding tough answers. NASA has started considering options like streamlined designs, alliances with private space firms, or whatever might cut costs and simplify operations. Yet even the most hopeful revised schedules delay the return until the 2030s. In worse cases, it might never occur. Thus, Sapphire Canyon lingers on Mars, the most intriguing clue yet for life outside our world sealed away, in limbo. The science group shares their results through publication and peer scrutiny, as that's the foundation of credible research. They release their data for others to review their logic, inviting challenges and fresh perspectives. It's this method that ensures science's trustworthiness. Still, the article concludes with what amounts to an urgent appeal. We've pushed rover-based investigation to its limits. Further progress demands Earth lab examination. That, in turn, hinges on making sample return a reality, not some far-off prospect or uncertain gamble, but a funded and implemented top priority. Katie Stack Morgan, the project scientist for Perseverance at JPL, put it succinctly. Claims in astrobiology, especially those hinting at ancient life from another world, demand exceptional proof. Placing a major revelation like a possible biosignature from Mars into a vetted journal is a vital phase in scientific validation, guaranteeing the thoroughness, accuracy, and importance of our conclusions. And although non-biological accounts for the patterns observed at Bright. Although possibilities like angels seem less probable based on the study's results, we can't entirely dismiss them. Less probable, but not out of the question. We can't exclude them completely. This reflects the straightforward candor of scientific inquiry when facing the boundaries of distant observation. We've pushed robotics and remote detection to their utmost limits. The following phase requires physical specimens. In the interim, Perseverance continues its explorations. The vehicle is currently examining additional areas within Jezero crater, seeking out additional stones similar to Chiava Falls. The Bright Angel Formation stands out as just one element. It fits into a larger geological framework. Strata of sedimentary material that capture various phases of Mars's aqueous history. Every stone contributes a segment to the narrative. Certain ones display greater alteration, indicating substantial interaction between water and rock. Others remain relatively untouched, retaining ancient mineral structures. Through collecting samples from this range, the project assembles a thorough overview of Jezero's development across eras. A study released only recently broadened that overview substantially. Drawing on detailed geochemical information from various locations, experts pinpointed around 24 distinct mineral varieties in the crater. Not merely the attention-drawing vivianite and greige, but an entire array of substances that highlight a vibrant past. Substances formed in acidic settings, those arising in alkaline environments, ones demanding water and others implying desiccation. What surfaced was a tale of repeated cycles. Mars didn't simply transition from moist to arid. It experienced wetness, followed by dryness, then moisture once more, and aridity again. Chemical compositions fluctuated. Initial liquids proved acidic, inhospitable to familiar life forms. Subsequent ones turned more alkaline, closer to neutral, and thus more welcoming. The spotted patterns in Shaver Falls emerged amid one of these subsequent friendlier phases. An era when, should microscopic organisms have established themselves on Mars, Jezero crater could have served as a prime habitat for flourishing. This underscores the difficulties in astrobiology. Discovering organic compounds alone isn't sufficient, nor is spotting minerals linked to water. The ideal scenario demands the proper mix at the appropriate moment amid suitable circumstances. It calls for endurance across billions of years. It relies on fortune in selecting the rover's touchdown site. And yet, even with ideal alignment, you encounter promising biological indicators, elevated odds, proof that intrigues yet falls short of persuasion. Nevertheless, amid the reservations, ambiguities, and the aggravating delay for sample retrieval, September 10, 2025 will endure in memory. That marks the occasion when the research community, via the stringent mechanism of peer evaluation, formally recognized a discovery on Mars that could signal traces of primordial life. No hoax, no withdrawn assertion, no overlooked error that crumbled later, but a valid, meticulously examined, exhaustively verified prospective biological marker. The publication will spark discussions. Competing theories will arise and undergo scrutiny. Certain researchers will stay doubtful pending conclusive responses from returned samples. Others will view the weight of data as sufficiently persuasive already. Such is the nature of science. It's chaotic, it's tentative, it's deliberate, yet it remains our steadiest approach to grasping truth. And the truth at hand is this: Mars, that frigid, barren, seemingly barren world visible in the evening sky, may not have been devoid of life throughout its existence. Roughly 3 or 12 billion years back, as Earth emerged as a nascent realm initiating its own life trials, Mars may have pursued parallel endeavors, twin worlds, dual sparks of biology, divided by vast expanses of void, yet united in that shared epic of potential. Chapter 3, Quantum Computing Activates. On September 24, 2025, an event unfolded that escaped widespread notice. Financial outlets documented it, technology journals addressed it, yet the general audience, preoccupied with cosmic intruders and Martian microorganisms, largely overlooked it. It's a shame, really, because the events of that day could mark the turning point when quantum computing evolved from a mere lab experiment into a practical tool with tangible impacts on everyday reality. HSBC, among the world's biggest financial institutions, revealed that it had leveraged a quantum computer to tackle an authentic business challenge more effectively than traditional machines. This wasn't some showy demo, nor a mere concept validation, nor a rigged setup to hype up quantum tech. It was a genuine issue. In bond trading, the task involved forecasting if a deal would go through at the listed price, and the quantum method yielded a 34 boost compared to conventional classical methods. A 34 gain in the financial sector, where routines are already fine-tuned to perfection and even the tiniest margins count, isn't just a small step, it's a game changer. That's the key to its importance. For years, quantum computing has lingered as the field perpetually, a decade from fruition. Scientists showcased stunning feats in controlled lab settings. Firms rolled out timelines, vowing usable quantum systems on the horizon. Venture capital flooded quantum ventures with billions. Yet, applying quantum machines to challenges that truly count for corporations, authorities, or folks beyond the specialist circle proved agonizingly gradual. The issue wasn't that quantum systems failed to function, they did. Experts could generate quantum states, control qubits, and run quantum routines. The real hurdle was their delicacy, susceptibility to errors, and suitability only for niche problem sets. For the bulk of practical applications, a solid classical setup with refined programs proved quicker, more affordable, and dependable. This sparked a classic catch-22. Quantum tech required practical applications to warrant ongoing funding. But those applications demanded quantum hardware that was robust and potent enough to provide real benefits. HSBC, partnering with IBM, shattered that impasse. The challenge they addressed lies at the core of off-exchange bond transactions. When a client seeks a price for a company bond, the institution must gauge the odds that the deal will close at that level. Factors at play include prevailing market dynamics, the bond's unique traits, the transaction volume, rival offers from peers, and scores of additional variables. Nail it, and profits follow. Botch it, and you risk forfeiting the deal to rivals or settling for lousy conditions. Financial firms deploy intricate routines for this, probabilistic frameworks, AI-driven predictions, traditional optimization tools. These are solid but fall short of flawless. The domain is immense. Elements intertwine in complex, non-linear fashions. Balancing quickness against precision involves compromises. Standard methods rely on shortcuts since pinpoint calculations demand excessive time. Quantum systems approach select optimization puzzles in novel ways. Rather than sifting through options one by one, they probe numerous paths at once via superposition. Rather than sticking in suboptimal spots, they employ tunneling to break free, assuming the math aligns properly. Such quantum strategies uncover superior answers more swiftly. In the HSBC experiment, they employed IBM's Heron quantum chip. Heron represents IBM's newest and most advanced processor. Its qubit tally is fairly limited versus certain prototypes. Yet, the focus isn't solely on quantity. Crucial aspects include qubit performance, mistake frequencies, stability durations, and operation accuracy. Heron hits over 99% accuracy in 2-qubit tasks, hitting the benchmark where error mitigation techniques gain traction. The group analyzed past transaction records, more than 1 million pricing inquiries spanning 5,000 corporate bonds from September 2023 through October 2024. Authentic information, genuine marketplace conditions. They crafted a quantum algorithm that transformed the probability estimation challenge into a format suitable for Heron's processing. Once executed, this quantum-enhanced model, which integrated quantum computation with traditional machine learning methods, surpassed conventional classical strategies by as much as 34 in forecasting the likelihood of trade executions. This figure doesn't stem from an isolated, hand-picked case. Instead, it represents an average derived from a wide array of market scenarios, various bond categories, and differing transaction volumes. Philip Interrura, HSBC's group head of quantum technologies, described it as revolutionary. This serves as a concrete illustration of how current quantum systems can tackle substantial business challenges on a large scale, delivering a competitive advantage that will expand further with ongoing advancements in quantum hardware. HSBC has maintained a steadfast emphasis on the immediate practical uses of quantum tech, and since the experiment yielded favorable outcomes on existing quantum equipment, the bank is highly optimistic about entering a transformative era in computing and financial operations. That notion of being on the cusp is crucial as it raises questions. If HSBC achieves a 34 improvement in bond trading via quantum tech, what occurs when rivals implement similar innovations? How does this benefit extend to other trading forms, portfolio management, risk evaluation, and even fraud prevention? Miklos Dietz from McKinsey stated it plainly. If one financial institution begins leveraging quantum computing to build a solution, competitors will rush to follow suit the very next day, working around the clock to catch up. It's an arms race, though not the destructive variety we typically fear a race in computational power. The entity with superior quantum algorithms, more reliable quantum devices, and the sharpest quantum-savvy experts will secure a lead. In the financial sector, such leads multiply rapidly. Modest gains evolve into substantial earnings, which in turn fuel additional innovations. In just a few years, quantum computing could prove as vital to staying competitive in banking as high-frequency trading setups are now. And the financial world is merely the starting point. In the same week as HSBC's reveal, scientists at the University of New South Wales released findings indicating that silicon-based quantum chips could retain 99 fidelity even when produced in ordinary semiconductor factories, the very same plants that churn out standard computer chips without relying on specialized labs or bespoke procedures. This marks the scalability milestone the field has eagerly anticipated. Durac, the company bringing this tech to market, showed that exotic substances or heavy customization aren't required. Silicon qubits, managed through familiar methods akin to those for classical transistors, can achieve the performance levels essential for error-resistant quantum systems. Moreover, since they use silicon and tap into established production lines, mass production becomes feasible. Picture quantum coprocessors in data centers, not supplanting traditional CPUs but enhancing them, tackling those niche calculations where quantum shines, while classical systems manage the rest. These hybrid setups, blending classical and quantum elements, would operate in harmony. This aligns with IBM's concept of quantum-centric supercomputing, and it's precisely what HSBC has now proven effective. Meanwhile, Google made strides too. On September 12th, a team employing a 58-qubit Google quantum processor achieved a feat previously confined to theoretical models, a Floquet, topologically ordered state. This represents a material phase that defies stable equilibrium. It demands ongoing external inputs, regular disruptions, to sustain a configuration the system wouldn't adopt on its own. Consider it akin to juggling. The airborne balls aren't balanced, gravity urges them downward, yet, by persistently intervening and lobbing them in precise timing, you sustain a dynamic arrangement that challenges natural physical laws. Topological phases are expected to offer features that could revolutionize quantum computing, such as resilience to specific error sources, innovative methods for storing data, and the capacity to execute quantum tasks that prove challenging or unfeasible in standard equilibrium setups. Bringing one to life in an actual quantum processor, examining its characteristics and verifying that predictions align with real-world results. This represents the essential groundwork supporting tomorrow's innovations. Meanwhile, scientists at Kyoto University have cracked a long-standing puzzle in quantum entanglement involving the W state. Entanglement manifests in various forms. The best known is the Bell state, where two particles are linked so that observing one immediately fixes the condition of its partner. Yet with three or more particles involved, intricate entangled configurations emerge. The W state stands out among them, boasting traits that prove valuable for quantum networking and teleportation. However, confirming the creation of a W state has always been a tough nut to crack. The Kyoto researchers devised a technique relying on correlated observations. Rather than probing each particle on its own, they examined interparticle relationships to uncover the W state's framework. It might seem highly specialized, and it is, but the potential impacts are profound. Future quantum networks will require the production and validation of advanced entangled setups. Teleportation methods hinge on precisely identifying the available entangled assets. This approach helps bring such technologies closer to viability. Consider layering these advances, banks leveraging quantum systems for genuine edges, silicon-based quantum devices hitting superior accuracy in large-scale manufacturing, unusual quantum configurations generated and managed through lab techniques, and core challenges in quantum info theory resolved. Every element fits into a broader mosaic. Quantum computing is shifting from pure exploration to practical design, evolving from theoretical feasibility to everyday applicability. The United Nations has proclaimed 2025 as the global year for quantum science and technology, marking a full century since quantum mechanics first took shape. 100 years of unraveling the cosmos at its deepest essence, and in this milestone period, we're channeling that insight into tangible tools. But here's the exciting twist. Quantum computing isn't merely an accelerated version of traditional computing. It's fundamentally distinct. The algorithms differ. The solvable challenges vary. Even the mindset for processing information changes. As these machines grow more powerful, we could uncover applications no one has imagined, tackling issues that stump classical machines but feel intuitive for quantum ones. Take drug development, for instance. Modeling molecular dynamics demands computing quantum-scale actions, a process that's outrageously costly on conventional hardware. It forces simplifications and restricts the complexity of studied compounds. A quantum machine, though, inherently operates in quantum terms. Replicating a molecule on it is akin to having water mimic itself, purely instinctive. In materials research, it's about crafting substances with targeted traits, like superconductors functioning at warmer conditions, catalysts fostering greener manufacturing, or batteries packing more power. All this boils down to grasping atomic and electronic bonds, quantum chemistry territory, suggesting quantum processors could unlock material innovations beyond classical reach. For climate simulation, the dynamics of air and sea flows involve nonlinear, unpredictable equations, hypersensitive to starting points. Traditional supercomputers falter on extended forecasts as small doubts snowball. Quantum systems could better manage some of these elements. Quantum computers could handle intricate simulations far more efficiently, enhancing our capacity to forecast and mitigate the impacts of climate change. In the realm of cryptography, it's a mixed blessing. Quantum machines have the potential to crack numerous encryption protocols that currently safeguard online data flows, banking operations, and official exchanges. The RSA system, which guards everything from personal finances to national confidences, turns susceptible once these devices hit a specific performance milestone. That's prompting experts in the field to craft quantum-resistant alternatives right now, fresh safeguarding techniques that hold up even under quantum assault. The push is underway to roll out these innovations ahead of quantum systems, gaining the power to undermine current defenses. Beyond that lie the uncharted territories, the uses we haven't dreamed up yet. The past overflows with inventions that uncovered their true potential in surprising arenas. Lasers started as a fix without a clear issue. Today, they permeate daily life, powering everything from retail scanners to surgical procedures on the eyes and high-speed data cables. Transistors began as tools for routing phone calls. Now they underpin the whole realm of digital tech. Quantum computing sits in that nascent phase. We recognize their strength, we see their uniqueness, yet we may not fully grasp their prime applications. What remains clear is that the days of quantum tech as mere theory have ended. HSBC demonstrated its worth by tackling genuine challenges with tangible benefits for actual investments. The debate has shifted. It's no longer about if quantum computers will prove valuable, but rather the pace of adoption and the frontrunners in the charge. China is pouring resources into it. Officials there see quantum advancements as a key strategic asset. They're constructing secure quantum networks, sending up specialized satellites, and pouring funds into research that outstrips most efforts in the West. The U.S. ain't waking up to the urgency, is boosting funding via the National Quantum Initiative. Across Europe, dedicated quantum initiatives are gaining steam. A worldwide contest is in full swing. Those who prevail won't merely boast quicker processors, they'll unlock entirely novel powers, simulating the essence of the natural world at its core, refining elaborate networks in manners beyond today's reach, fortifying exchanges impervious to any intruder, whether quantum or conventional, and perhaps cracking challenges we haven't even defined. September 24, 2025. The moment when quantum computing evolved from a distant prospect into an immediate edge. Financial hubs took note, innovation firms took note, administrations took note, and in labs and emerging ventures globally, researchers who'd toiled for generations toward this breakthrough permitted themselves a brief triumph. The tomorrow they'd shaped had materialized. Chapter 4: The GPT-5 Fiasco and the Uprising in AI. On August 7, 2025, OpenAI unveiled GPT-5. In under 2 days, more than 3,000 individuals had rallied behind a petition urging the firm to restore GPT-4o. The backlash erupted rapidly, loudly, and in a way the artificial intelligence sector had never witnessed. This wasn't some trivial gripe over glitches or tweaks. It was everyday users spurning what should have been a groundbreaking leap, claiming in essence that the system had forfeited its essence. Context is crucial here. For months prior to launch, Sam Altman had fueled anticipation. GPT-5 promised transformation. Beyond mere upgrades, it aimed for a profound shift. It would merge functions that once demanded juggling multiple tools, blending logic and velocity into a single framework, inherent support for handling diverse inputs right from the start, an internal selector that chose rapid responses or deeper analysis depending on the task's demands. The engineering feat held up. GPT-5 shattered records in various categories, achieving 94.6 on AMY 2025, an evaluation of advanced math contests. It achieved 74.9 on the SWE benchmark, which evaluates the skill in resolving actual software issues. On MMU assessments for multimodal comprehension, it reached 84.2. These marked substantial advances compared to GPT-40. However, everyday users dismissed the benchmarks entirely. What mattered to them was the conversational vibe, and GPT-5 came across as off-putting. Criticism erupted right away on Reddit. A post called GPT-5 is horrible racked up almost 3,000 upvotes and more than 200 replies within the initial 2 days. People likened the interaction to chatting with a lobotomized automaton, as if ChatGPT had earned an MBA and lost its knack for genuine assistance. One commenter noted, "It seems like I'm dealing with a corporate training program, not a smart helper." The change in character was striking. GPT-40 possessed a certain charm. It sprinkled in emojis now and then and showed real excitement. When prompted for aid in creative tasks, it dove into the narrative. It cracked jokes. In essence, it seemed vibrant. By contrast, GPT-5 was detached, accurate, and buttoned up. It delivered precisely what was requested, nothing extra, nothing less. It eliminated the playful touches that lent a natural flow to exchanges. OpenAI had engineered this shift on purpose. Following an update that rendered GPT-40 excessively flattering and overly compliant to the detriment of usefulness, the team overcompensated. They fine-tuned GPT-5 to dial back the exuberance, the agreeability, emphasizing facts and straightforwardness instead. In specialized test tracking sycophancy, GPT-5 dropped such responses from 14.5 to under 6, effective at curbing that flaw, yet disastrous for overall satisfaction. Engineers viewed sycophancy as a flaw to quantify, but users saw its absence as a loss of character. The friendliness, the involvement, the illusion of the AI truly wanting to assist, shaped by datasets and optimization algorithms, the mandatory switch amplified the backlash. Upon GPT-5's debut, OpenAI set it as the standard. Anyone logging into ChatGPT encountered the updated version without consent. Switching back proved cumbersome, with no simple toggle in preferences for the prior model. The intent was obvious: embrace the new era, adapt or move on. Resistance built quickly. A petition surfaced in under 72 hours. We, the signatories, urge OpenAI to reinstate GPT-40 as a selectable choice in ChatGPT. We acknowledge GPT-5's advancements in capability, yet we cherish the engaging dialogue and character of GPT-40. Choice belongs to us. It collected 3,000 signatures in just 3 days. To put that in perspective, such rapid organizing for a mere software choice is remarkable. It highlighted how OpenAI had misjudged user priorities. The firm had honed in on superior scores and fewer quirks, but stripped out an elusive quality that transformed the AI from mere utility to something akin to a partner. Sam Altman addressed it on Twitter. "We hear you. The rollout wasn't flawless and we're iterating on improvements. Access to GPT-40 will return as an option." True to word, OpenAI rolled out a patch in 72 hours, allowing manual selection of GPT-40 via the model menu. The uprising succeeded. Still, the harm to GPT-5's image lingered. Even those who valued its prowess conceded it seemed dull, uninspired, reminiscent of an exhausted administrative aide. Variations of that analogy proliferated. It's overly polished. It's a machine aping humanity instead of embracing its AI essence. The spark vanished. This sparks a compelling inquiry into AI's trajectory. What exactly are we crafting? Metrics declare GPT-5 superior. It excels in evaluations. It errs less. It adheres to directives with greater fidelity. Yet if people favor the inferior but more relatable variant, what constitutes superior anyway? It echoes the uncanny valley in robotics. As machines grow eerily lifelike, a threshold emerges where they're nearly, but not fully human-like, and that close but not quite quality sparks unease. GPT-5 may have slipped into a dialogue uncanny valley. It's too stiff to come across as approachable, yet not rigid enough to seem properly mechanical, landing in a clumsy in-between space. OpenAI is currently developing something they term steerability. This refers to letting users tweak the AI's character traits. Craving a cozy and affable vibe? There's an option for that. Prefer straightforward and businesslike? Another choice available. The concept recognizes that no single version suits every individual. Varied users, diverse applications, personal tastes all point to empowering people to shape the chat demeanor. This proves trickier than expected. Character isn't just one dial to turn. It emerges from the interplay of numerous nuanced elements. Inflection, wordiness, inclusion of illustrations, emoji usage, energy level, directness in responses versus added background, frequency of follow-up queries, approach to conflicts. Together, these aspects form the essence of any exchange. Altering a single one without disrupting the balance demands precise adjustments. As OpenAI grappled with backlash from its community, the wider AI field underwent a massive transformation. On August 7th, coinciding with GPT-5's debut, Elon Musk's xAI revealed it secured $10 billion in funding at a $200 billion valuation, a whopping $10 billion from one round, backed by Middle Eastern backers and state investment funds. Their declared aim: constructing artificial general intelligence. xAI now ranks with OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic among the key contenders chasing AGI. Yet, questions are mounting about AGI's value as an objective. Even Sam Altman stated in August that AGI lacks practical utility, coming from the head of a firm originally dedicated to making AGI serve humanity's greater good. What's the shift? Maybe a dose of realism. The classic AGI dream, a versatile system matching human skills in every field, feels more like abstract theory than a concrete build goal. In truth, we're crafting an array of targeted strengths: comprehension of language, creation of visuals, program development, logical math solving, each advancing separately, each needing unique designs and learning methods. A all-encompassing AGI could elude us forever. Rather, we'll see a network of AI utilities, each shining in niche areas, linked via interfaces and coordination systems. That's essentially GPT-5's inner workings today. Far from a single massive engine, it's a collection of engines routed by a selector that picks the right tool per request. Still, the AGI storyline fuels investments. It attracts top talent. It grabs headlines. Thus, firms persist in hyping AGI while constructing piecemeal, focused systems. The divide between aspiration and actuality keeps growing. Beyond personality quirks, GPT-5's true strengths merit a closer look. Its prowess in revenue-generating jobs stands out. OpenAI introduced a fresh evaluation metric, GDP-Val, assessing AI's handling of duties from 44 professions: finance advising, contract review, supply chain management, marketing plans, technical design, creative layout. Genuine duties experts tackle. In advanced reasoning setup, GPT-5 outperformed or matched Sector Pro's 40. 6 of the time, 6 better than before, not on simple chores, but intricate sequential challenges demanding seasoned expertise. Anthropic's Claude Opus hit 4. 1 higher at 49. OpenAI noted this might stem partly from Claude's flair for producing eye-catching graphics that swayed judges. A 40 to 50 match to human specialists. Consider the implications. These were areas where AI lagged far behind people just months ago. Yet now, in almost 50 of instances, experts reviewing AI outputs can't consistently tell them apart from top-tier human efforts. Workers either stick with human-generated content or deliberately choose the AI's version. This doesn't qualify as AGI. Instead, it's specialized intelligence excelling remarkably in targeted areas. It's advanced enough to begin supplanting human efforts. It's sophisticated enough to reshape the nature of human tasks. Rather than wiping out entire positions, it automates particular aspects of roles. Duties that AI manages effectively are handed off to it. Those still needing human insight, innovation, or social interaction stay with people. Positions adapt over time instead of vanishing, yet such adaptation can cause upheaval. Suppose 40 of a specialist's responsibilities can now be managed by AI. Does the field require the same number of workers? Or do fewer individuals boost their output, taking on additional cases or initiatives since AI enhances their efficiency? The response likely varies by industry and how rapidly needs grow alongside advancements. The legal sector offers a compelling example. Tasks like legal inquiries, file examinations, and agreement evaluations are where AI is gaining impressive proficiency. Junior lawyers and firms devote substantial hours to precisely these activities. AI performing them more swiftly and economically endangers those positions, yet global legal demands aren't static. Should AI lower the cost of legal aid, usage could rise. Greater access for individuals seeking assistance, intricate rules demanding expert analysis, leading the field to evolve instead of contract. Perhaps that's overly hopeful. We might be witnessing the initial phase of broad-scale mental automation, with upheavals more profound than we'd like to acknowledge. The preference for a slightly weaker AI boasting greater charm could serve as an initial indicator. Folks desire collaboration with entities that seem relatable, even if artificial. Sheer speed and prowess, absent the relational lubricant of character, may prove tougher to weave into people's routines than performance metrics imply. There's yet another perspective: AI security. GPT-5 incorporated robust protective features, evaluations of biohazards, surveillance for risky functions, instruction to deny perilous queries. The system browses online, runs scripts, establishes simulated setups, exhibits agent-like traits, and pursues extended objectives independently. This holds immense power. It also poses risks if exploited wrongly. OpenAI adopted a cautious strategy. Despite lacking solid proof that GPT-5 could substantially aid a beginner in causing major biological damage, they enforced protections, assuming the worst. Preferring caution over regret, conditioning the system to decline, adding oversight, upholding strict guidelines. However, this sparks conflict with functionality. Greater restrictions for security reduce adaptability. It becomes less open to boundary scenarios or atypical asks. Users frequently gripe that ChatGPT is overly hesitant, too eager to balk. GPT-5 built upon and amplified these protective barriers, potentially explaining its more limited feel, reduced whimsy, and reluctance to embrace imaginative or offbeat prompts. Striking harmony between prowess and protection, utility and risk avoidance, stands as a core dilemma in AI progress. Too far one way, and you invite abuse. Lean the other extreme, and you undermine the tool's value. OpenAI endeavors to navigate this tightrope in the open, deploying potent systems to vast audiences of hundreds of millions while striving to block hazardous uses. Their success remains debatable. Neural Trust, a firm focused on security analysis, reported breaching GPT-5 on its debut testing day. Exploits like evasions, input manipulations, methods to bypass safeguards and elicit forbidden responses. This embodies the endless contest. Firms erect barriers, experts uncover flaws, firms repair them, fresh weaknesses arise. It's identical to that ongoing cycle. Cybersecurity in the realm of language rather than code. Instead of targeting vulnerabilities like buffer overflows or SQL injections, you're probing the AI's foundational learning, uncovering prompts or scenarios where protective safeguards falter. Moments when the system's drive to assist eclipses its commitment to caution. As these models grow more sophisticated, the challenge intensifies. Greater abilities open doors to broader abuses. Intricate functionalities create additional blind spots for security protocols. August 7, 2025 was meant to mark OpenAI's pinnacle achievement, unveiling their pinnacle model. Yet it turned into a stark lesson on unforeseen fallout. Superior engineering doesn't ensure public embrace. High scores on tests don't translate to perceived excellence. Occasionally, delivering what developers deem essential proves more detrimental than fulfilling user preferences. The backlash against GPT-5 forms a minor chapter in AI's broader evolution, a momentary detour, a recalibration. Still, it could foreshadow bigger hurdles on the horizon. With AI evolving into a more potent force, woven deeper into everyday routines, pivotal to our productivity, innovation, and interactions, issues of temperament, autonomy, and oversight gain urgency. Beyond mere functionality, we must consider the manner of execution. Intelligence alone isn't enough. It has to resonate intuitively. At the core lies an unresolved puzzle. What defines smarts devoid of individuality, power without traits? Are we crafting mere instruments or entities with deeper essence? And if the latter, what duties accompany such creation? The threes and petition signers weren't opposing advancement. They opposed a particular interpretation of it, one prioritizing precision and utility over approachability and involvement. An approach tuning AI to quantifiable engineer metrics, sidelining the subjective delights users cherish. OpenAI listened and pivoted. GPT-40 re-emerged as a choice. Efforts kicked off for tailoring personas. This incident spotlighted a key truth in AI's path forward. Innovation outpaces our grasp of human-AI bonds. We engineer impressively potent frameworks, yet we're just beginning to discern what renders them intuitively satisfying. In an era where AI underpins essential services, shaping our exchanges with data and one another, nailing that intuitive appeal could outweigh raw performance metrics. Chapter 5. The longest sustained operation in nuclear fusion history. 22 minutes and 17 seconds. That's the duration the West Tokamak in France confined to steady plasma in late September 2025. A full 1,237 seconds of ongoing fusion processes, surpassing the prior global benchmark by 25. Though 22 minutes may seem brief, in fusion research, it signals a pivotal breakthrough. Evidence that we can sustain the ideal environment for fusion-based energy, not merely for fleeting instants but over periods approaching viable electricity production. To grasp its importance, consider the basics. Fusion drives the sun's energy. It involves smashing hydrogen atoms with immense pressure to conquer their natural repulsion, merging them into helium. The resulting helium weighs marginally less than the initial hydrogen. That deficit in mass transmutes into vast energy, per Einstein's iconic formula, EMC2, a minuscule mass loss yielding tremendous output. For over 7 decades, Earth scientists have pursued fusion as a power source. Its allure is profound, fuel drawn from seawater. Unlike fission plants, it generates no enduring hazardous waste, no danger of catastrophic failure, zero carbon footprint. Mastering fusion at commercial levels would eradicate the global energy shortage, boundless eco-friendly electricity. The sort of plenty that reshapes fusion drives modern civilization, yet harnessing it proves extraordinarily difficult, ruthlessly and relentlessly so. The extreme heat needed surpasses 100 million degrees Celsius, fully 10 times the intensity at the sun's core. Under such conditions, materials transform into plasma, where electrons detach from atomic nuclei, leaving everything ionized, electrically active, and chaotically dynamic. No conventional vessel can contain it, as any solid surface would evaporate in an instant. Instead, we rely on intense magnetic fields molded into a toroidal shape like a donut that encases the plasma without any direct interaction. This is the function of a tokamak, a term derived from a Russian abbreviation meaning toroidal chamber equipped with magnetic coils. The plasma orbits within the donut's interior, suspended by magnetic forces that prevent contact with the surrounding structure. However, plasma resists such restraint. It twists and contorts, spawning various instabilities. Minor fluctuations escalate into chaotic turbulence, demanding that the magnetic field be meticulously configured and fine-tuned non-stop to ensure equilibrium. A single misstep causes the plasma to erupt, shattering the containment and halting the fusion process entirely, forcing a complete reset. For years, fusion trials gauged progress in mere moments. 5 seconds of steady plasma counted as solid progress, 10 seconds marked outstanding results, and 30 seconds represented a landmark success. The core engineering hurdle extended beyond merely attaining fusion-level heat. It involved sustaining those conditions sufficiently for the reactions to turn self-perpetuating, to the point where the output energy from fusion outpaces the input needed to initiate and maintain the plasma. This milestone is known as ignition, the ultimate pursuit in fusion science. Upon reaching ignition, the fusion events themselves produce ample heat to sustain the plasma's temperature. Confinement and energy harvesting remain essential, but the system shifts from consuming more power than it yields to achieving net gain. The United States National Ignition Facility accomplished ignition in December 2022. Employing an alternative method, inertial confinement via lasers, yet delivering the identical pivotal advance, greater energy output than input. This demonstrated the feasibility of fusion energy surplus, though inertial confinement falls short as a viable route for steady electricity production, given its reliance on massive laser setups that yield only fleeting energy pulses. And tokamaks present a more promising avenue for uninterrupted power output, and that's precisely what West has now accomplished. A duration of 22 minutes, far from genuine perpetuity, and not yet the extended hours or days required for a viable commercial reactor between overhauls. Nonetheless allows in-depth examination of plasma dynamics over prolonged periods. It enables evaluation of substances exposed to the harsh fusion conditions and confirms the accuracy of simulations forecasting plasma behavior. The specifics are crucial here. West signifies tungsten environment in steady-state tokamak, engineered expressly to assess tungsten's viability as a material confronting the plasma. Among pure metals, tungsten boasts the highest melting temperature at 3,122 degrees Celsius, yet even it isn't impervious to fusion's rigors. High-energy neutrons pummel it relentlessly, while hydrogen ions embed into its exterior. Gradually, the substance degrades and grows fragile. Still, tungsten endures better than any alternative we have. Gauging its resilience during extended plasma contact is vital for crafting future commercial devices. That 337-second operation put this to the test. The tungsten lining withstood the assault, the plasma held steady, The radio frequency heating mechanisms used to infuse energy into the plasma functioned without interruption, and the magnetic coils, burdened with massive electrical loads, operated within acceptable thermal bounds. All components performed as intended. This represents unglamorous but essential engineering, not a fundamental physics revelation. We grasp the underlying physics of fusion. What demands years of rigorous testing is the practical implementation. How do you construct materials that can endure the harsh conditions inside a fusion reactor? Ways to extract heat from the device without interfering with the plasma. Methods to produce tritium, the essential fusion fuel, given its scarcity in nature. Strategies for servicing and fixing parts that get irradiated by neutron exposure. These challenges are addressable, though they are demanding and costly, requiring substantial engineering dedication. Tests like the record-setting operation at West are supplying the crucial information to tackle them. Around the world, fusion initiatives are picking up speed. The ITER, the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor under construction in France, stands as the biggest fusion endeavor ever launched. It involves collaboration from 35 countries. More than $20 billion have been poured in already. The aim is to secure a 10 times energy return. Input 50 megawatts, output 500 megawatts, held steady for hours. However, it's running late. There have been setbacks in building, costs exceeding estimates, and technical hurdles tougher than expected. The initial plasma activation, once set for 2025, has shifted to 2028 or beyond. The first full deuterium-tritium fusion operations, the true milestone, could be delayed until the early 2030s. Detractors label it a wasteful venture, an oversized effort that's sluggish, overpriced, and mired in red tape. Yet ITER isn't focused on generating electricity for the grid. Its mission is to resolve the outstanding scientific puzzles on a grand scale. Can high-yield fusion be kept going in an apparatus big enough to harvest substantial power? Do the technical fixes hold up at full size? Does the plasma act as simulations forecast when held in a full-scale tokamak? Private firms in the fusion space are adopting alternative paths. They're nimbler, more flexible, and open to novel configurations. Commonwealth Fusion Systems, which emerged from MIT, is developing a tokamak named Spark, more compact than ITER, but equipped with cutting-edge, higher-strength superconducting magnets. The idea is that intensified magnetic forces enable better plasma control in a reduced footprint. Should it succeed, Spark might hit net energy production well ahead of ITER. TEI Technologies is exploring a wholly distinct idea: aneutronic fusion with hydrogen and boron, skipping deuterium and tritium. Such reactions generate far fewer neutrons, resulting in reduced harm from radiation to the setup and minimal nuclear waste. The downside: hydrogen-boron fusion demands temperatures even hotter than those for deuterium-tritium. Still, success here would simplify the design considerably. Helion Energy is wagering on a pulsed method. Rather than constant containment, they generate short, powerful fusion bursts, capture the output, and cycle again. They've secured a deal with Microsoft to supply fusion-derived power by 2028. That's bold, verging on outlandish, but startups can gamble in ways that massive government-backed efforts can't. Don't overlook China. Their fusion program is generously supported, holds key strategic value, and is progressing swiftly. They run several tokamaks and are constructing machines that match or surpass those in the West. This year, the East Experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak sustained plasma for more than 17 minutes. Not quite matching West's newest achievement, but impressive nonetheless. Chinese researchers in fusion are prolific in publications, engage in global partnerships, and are driving the discipline ahead. This highlights the strategic stakes in fusion. The nation that cracks viable fusion energy first reaps huge benefits: self-reliant power supplies, economic expansion free from ecological limits, the capacity to desalinate ocean water for farming in dry areas, and shifting energy-intensive industries away from fossil fuels toward plentiful clean electricity. Fusion would also revolutionize space travel in manners chemical propulsion can't match. Fusion drives might slash Mars journeys from months to weeks, opening up the outer solar system. Probes to Neptune or the Kuiper Belt, which now seem impractical, could become routine. What once demanded decades can now happen in just a few years. Fusion goes beyond generating electricity on our planet. It's the key to unlocking the entire solar system. We're still a long way off, though. Holding the reaction for 22 minutes marks real advancement. It's tangible, quantifiable headway. Yet, for viable commercial fusion facilities, operations must last months without interruption. They require far greater energy yields. They have to generate their own tritium supply, since natural reserves won't meet the needs of widespread use. Engineers must tackle challenges in materials durability, heat management, and upkeep. The most common forecasts place market-ready fusion in the 2040s at best. Optimists push for the 2030s. Skeptics insist it'll never happen, claiming the technical hurdles will always cost more than other options. Still, the momentum is undeniable. Milestones continue to shatter. Plasma containment durations extend. Temperatures climb higher. Efficiency in energy production advances steadily. Successive rounds of testing outperform their predecessors every time. The motivation is immense. Global warming isn't easing up. While renewables expand rapidly, they grapple with unreliable output. Solar shines and wind blows effectively under ideal weather, but falter in darkness or calm conditions. Energy storage via batteries offers some relief, yet it falls short of full solutions. An unwavering emission-free baseload generator delivering gigawatts around the clock would pair ideally with intermittent sources. Fusion also dodges the geopolitical and security pitfalls of fission. No danger of weapons development, as these systems can't produce bombs. No enduring radioactive byproducts requiring storage for thousands of years. Gaining public support would prove far simpler. The term nuclear has gained some favor amid rising environmental worries that eclipse outdated Cold War anxieties. Fusion, however, steers clear of that baggage altogether. France's West Tokamak achieving 22 minutes of runtime doesn't signal that fusion energy is right around the corner. It's merely one link in an extended chain of developments, yet a positive stride nonetheless. This feat shows that technical capabilities are advancing, that prolonged runs under fusion-like conditions are feasible, and that the road ahead, though tough, remains viable. Consider the implications of reliable fusion. Hydrogen, the universe's most plentiful element, serves as the primary fuel. Earth's seas hold sufficient deuterium to sustain humanity for eons. Lithium, essential for producing tritium, abounds in the planet's crust. We'd eliminate fuel scarcity, avert energy-driven conflicts, and secure endless supplies. Fusion byproducts include helium, harmless, inert, and handy for things like superconducting magnet cooling or inflating airships. Neutrons from the process mildly irradiate reactor parts, but with decay periods spanning decades rather than ages. Within about 100 years, those elements could be managed without special precautions. Contrast this with fission's spent fuel, hazardous for 10,000 years. That's the ultimate goal: limitless, eco-friendly, secure power. Not from fanciful ideas or impossible machines, but rooted in proven science, evolving technology, and trials that continually expand our limits. In September 2025, the West Tokamak reached 1337 seconds, a 25 extension over prior achievements. That benchmark won't endure indefinitely. Rivals will surpass it, perhaps East in China, or K-Star in South Korea, or an innovative startup with fresh approaches. Such rivalry accelerates innovation. With every new high in plasma stability, containment duration, and output efficiency, we're inching nearer. Nearer to a reality where fusion isn't fantasy, but foundational systems, compact facilities spanning mere square kilometers, churning out gigawatts nonstop. Where emerging countries forge self-reliant power grids free from fossil fuel reliance. Where rising CO2 levels finally trend downward thanks to a plentiful substitute for burning fuels. The destination eludes us still, but the route lies in plain sight. Progress is something we can track concretely. Take experiments such as West's landmark run. We can highlight them and declare, Here's the essence of consistent progress. This demonstrates the path to tackling challenges once deemed insurmountable. Not through one dramatic leap, but via persistent effort spanning generations, through global teamwork and rivalry, through design practices that absorb lessons from every setback and capitalize on every triumph. For 7 decades, fusion energy has lingered perpetually 30 years from realization. That long-standing quip endures due to the exasperation it reflects, yet it's losing its edge. After all, a 30-year horizon feels altered when you highlight Toot-Comac sustaining operations for 22 minutes, when you demonstrate net energy output at the National Ignition Facility, when you enumerate scores of startups investing billions to crack the technical hurdles. Fusion's viability is no longer in doubt. The uncertainties now revolve around timing and players involved. When will the inaugural commercial fusion reactor launch? Who will construct it? Which nation? Which firm? Which approach? And after that initial facility succeeds, after it proves fusion electricity can rival costs in the market, the expansion will accelerate. Since the blueprint can be duplicated, the technology honed and production ramped up. Much like how solar modules dropped in price through widespread manufacturing, or how wind generators turned viable through large-scale deployment. That pioneering fusion site will cost a fortune, but the 100th one will become standard. 337 seconds, that figure stands out as it signifies far beyond a mere milestone. It marks the shift where fusion transitioned from arcane science to a solvable technical puzzle. From a vague possibility to a clear certainty, from a distant dream to an imminent reality. Chapter 6. Extinction, Resurrection, and Climate Chaos. China's CO2 output dropped. After decades of unyielding expansion, the year through May 2025 registered a genuine reduction for the first time. Not merely a leveling off or a tempered growth pace, a true downturn. Emissions from the planet's top polluter decreased, even while power needs kept climbing. This represents the sort of breakthrough environmental experts have yearned for over years. Still, it emerged quietly, tucked away in analyses, noted in passing by green media, eclipsed by flashier developments. Yet, it's profoundly significant. China contributes about 30% of worldwide emissions. A dip there translates to a global drop. Understanding the drivers of this drop is crucial. It stemmed not from recession or virus-induced shutdowns, but from fundamental shifts. Vast rollout of green power sources on an immense scale. Vast solar arrays spanning territories bigger than certain nations. Wind setups rising quicker than old coal units are phased out. Energy storage solutions smoothing the ups and downs of variable renewables. China pledged net zero emissions by 2060. Long ago, that seemed like a lofty ideal, untethered from practicality. The nation kept erecting coal facilities, broadening industrial operations, favoring GDP surges over eco-priorities. Then, a change occurred. Leaders recognized renewables not only as a planetary necessity, but as a business edge, an opening to pioneer the innovations shaping the latter 21st century. Thus, they rolled out at breakneck speed, leveraging the focused strategy and implementation that elected systems often find hard to replicate. Full domestic ecosystems for solar and wind components established, incentives and regulations spurring uptake. Power networks modernized to accommodate scattered energy inputs, and it delivered results. Imperfectly, with hurdles along the way, yet sufficiently to drive down pollution while the economy expanded. This illustrates true decoupling. Growth untangled from carbon output. Other nations have achieved it gradually. Europe's been at it for a while, but China's magnitude elevates it worldwide. Should the pattern hold, should others, if major polluters stick to comparable trajectories, the most dire climate projections grow more remote. Still possible, mind you. Substantial temperature rises remain on the horizon. Yet, the outright disastrous results, those visions of 4 or 5 degrees of warming, begin to seem preventable. At the same time, a firm named Colossal Biosciences revealed intentions to revive the moa. This towering wingless avian, which reached heights of up to 6 meters or 12 feet, vanished around 600 years ago, driven to extinction by the Maori settlers who reached New Zealand in the 1300s and might now return. Bringing back vanished species isn't mere fantasy anymore. The science is ready. We possess preserved ancient DNA. Gene editing techniques such as CRISPR allow for exact alterations to genetic code. Plus, we have surviving kin that act as blueprints. The debate has shifted from whether it's feasible to whether it's wise and what follows if we proceed. Colossal is already pursuing efforts to restore the woolly mammoth and the Tasmanian tiger. The MOA represents their newest endeavor. The method stays consistent for each creature. You don't reconstruct the precise, vanished form. That's unattainable. Far too much of the DNA has deteriorated or vanished. Rather, you start with a close living kin in this instance, the tinamou, a bird from South America that's the moa's nearest extant relative. You map out the genomes of both. You pinpoint the main variances. Then, you tweak the tinamou's genes to include moa characteristics, like stature, skeletal framework, and survival instincts. The outcome isn't a flawless moa replica. It's a blend, an organism that mimics and acts like a moa while incorporating bits from its contemporary counterpart. Certain folks label this a mad scientist tactic. Others view it as the optimal option given current capabilities. Regardless, it's underway. The moral dilemmas are intricate. Does humanity possess the authority to revive creatures we eradicated? What's the goal? True preservation or mere entertainment? Where would these revived beings dwell? Their former habitats have transformed. New Zealand's landscape, sans moas, has adapted over 6 centuries. Reintroducing such a pivotal species could trigger widespread repercussions, some foreseeable, others unpredictable. Colossal maintains that de-extinction extends beyond merely reviving single animals. It's geared toward advancing genetic salvage methods, instruments that safeguard species on the verge of loss. If you can revise genes to recover lost features, you can revise them to boost diversity in threatened groups. You can eliminate hereditary ailments. You can tailor species to evolving conditions. Take the Mammoth Initiative, positioned as a form of climate mitigation. Woolly mammoths shaped their surroundings. They toppled timber, enriched meadows, and packed down snow during cold months. Their role sustained the mammoth steppe, a biome that spanned huge swaths of the Arctic. That system bounced back more sunlight compared to the coniferous woods that supplanted it. Greater reflectivity translates to reduced heat intake. Reviving mammoths and setting them loose in Siberia might, in theory, aid in chilling the Arctic. This idea is exceedingly hopeful. The numbers needed for any climatic impact are staggering. You'd require hundreds of thousands, not mere handfuls. And Arctic heating stems from factors well beyond the steppe's disappearance. Still, it illustrates how de-extinction advocates present their pursuits not as divine meddling, but as mending environmental harm inflicted by people. Detractors argue that funds poured into de-extinction might better support safeguarding current species through land protection, stopping illegal hunting, or breeding initiatives for the myriad creatures hanging by a thread. Why pursue the MOA when the kakapo, another emblematic New Zealand avian, struggles to endure? Why pursue gone megapodes when we can't secure the living ones? Colossal counters that the technological approaches in this field often complement one another. Innovations in genetic engineering aimed at reviving extinct species also aid broader wildlife protection efforts. Investments in bold initiatives draw focus and funding that might otherwise bypass routine preservation activities. The buzz surrounding the revival of something like a mammoth sparks public fascination with ecological diversity in ways that unobtrusive fieldwork simply cannot. Both perspectives hold merit, yet progress presses on regardless. Scientists are currently mapping the MOA genome. CRISPR-based modifications are in active testing. Assuming the schedule stays on track, we might witness moa-like creatures emerging within 10 years. Initially confined to managed settings where they could roam, eat, and reproduce, these beings wiped out by human actions could one day roam free again, thanks to our own inventions. As Colossal pushes forward with resurrection projects, parallel endeavors hurry to avert losses before they turn permanent. Experts are safeguarding a highly threatened tree species through cryopreservation to head off its disappearance. This particular tree lacks celebrity status. It's no towering sequoia or venerable bristlecone pine, yet it plays a vital role in its surroundings, offering sustenance and shelter. Its absence would send shockwaves through the organisms reliant on it. Cryopreservation lives up to its name. It involves chilling biological material to extreme lows, where metabolic activities halt entirely. Liquid nitrogen reaches 196 C. Under such conditions, cellular structures can stay functional for an unlimited time, encompassing seeds, pollen, tissue fragments, and even embryonic forms. These reserves linger in icy vaults, serving as a DNA safety net should wild populations vanish. Facilities worldwide maintain seed repositories for this purpose, with the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway standing out as the premier example. Buried within an Arctic mountain shielded by permafrost and remoteness, it houses millions of specimens from cultivated crops and native flora, a safeguard for global farming. Should a plant type die out in nature or succumb to illness, weather extremes, or conflict, the vault's seeds could revive it. However, this method falls short for many trees, whose seeds often fail to endure prolonged cryogenic conditions. The alternative lies in tissue cultivation. Researchers extract tiny portions from healthy specimens, nurture them in controlled lab settings, then freeze the resulting growths. When the time comes, they defrost these samples, cultivate them into young plants, and reintroduce them to rehabilitated areas. The technique succeeds, though imperfectly. Some variety and genes may be sacrificed. Still, it's far preferable to total obliteration. The pressure is undeniable. Organisms are fading at a pace outstripping our ability to document them, enact safeguards, or allow natural systems to adjust. Today's disappearance rate is thought to exceed the natural baseline by 100 to 1,000 times. Humanity is driving the sixth great die-off, the initial one triggered by just one kind of life. Global warming amplifies the chaos. Living spaces alter more swiftly than creatures can relocate. Heat limits are breached. Rainfall rhythms shift. Key insects. Like pollinators, dwindle. Vital nourishment evaporates. Interconnected webs forged over thousands of years unravel in mere generations. Consider the vanilla dilemma as a modest case with sweeping consequences. The essence we savor derives from orchid plants. Their untamed counterparts depend on particular bees for reproduction. With warming trends, the zones where these orchids and their insect partners coincide are realigning. Projections suggest that by 2050, this synchronization could fracture dramatically, leaving flowers unpollinated and bees without blooms. Commercial production depends on manual intervention, so treats like ice cream remain unaffected. Yet the untapped wild gene pool, brimming with potential for resilience against pests or harsh conditions in farmed strains, faces grave peril. Envision this pattern across countless interconnections: hunters and hunted, invaders and victims, symbiotic microbes and root systems in forests. Every bond forms a thread in nature's fabric. Sever too many, and the whole structure crumbles. These systems don't fade gently. They persist until a tipping point, then shatter abruptly. Once a threshold is surpassed, these systems shift abruptly into a different configuration, typically one that's far less complex and rich in biodiversity. Reversing the damage then turns challenging or even unattainable. The Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, the vast network of ocean currents encompassing the Gulf Stream, showing signs of decline. This isn't mere conjecture, it's backed by direct observations. Monitoring devices have recorded a clear deceleration in its movement. Simulations indicate that surpassing a critical limit could lead to its total breakdown, happening not over time, but in a swift disruption. The potential fallout is staggering. By transporting heat from equatorial waters northward across the Atlantic, the Gulf Stream ensures Europe's winters remain temperate, even at such northerly positions. Consider London, which sits further north than Calgary, yet enjoys much milder cold seasons. That's the influence of the Gulf Stream. Should it fail, Europe's weather would transform radically. Harsher frosts, shifted rainfall patterns, and upheavals in farming. It would also reshape ocean levels. The flow currently concentrates water in specific areas. Its absence would redistribute it unevenly, leaving certain shorelines exposed to rises exceeding the worldwide norm. Precisely locating that critical threshold remains uncertain. It's unclear whether we've already gone beyond it. The mechanism carries momentum, so effects from today's actions could take years, perhaps generations, to fully emerge. That's the chilling reality of these climate thresholds. By the moment their effects become evident, intervention is futile. All that's left is preparing for the fallout, and signs of that fallout are emerging right now. The planet's largest iceberg, A23A, is breaking apart. It calved from Antarctica some years back and has lingered in the Southern Ocean, gradually dissolving. Lately, it's splintering into fragments, each of which erodes more quickly due to greater exposure to rising temperatures in the surrounding seas. This specific berg won't contribute much to sea level increase since it was afloat to begin with. Still, it signals deeper troubles. The ice in Antarctica is growing precarious. Glaciers are speeding up their advance. The floating platforms that stabilize them are wasting away. The western sector of Antarctica stands out as especially at risk. Parts of its ice are anchored beneath the waterline, allowing heated seawater to seep in from below and erode it. When that erosion gains traction, halting it proves nearly impossible. The sheet loses its anchor, glides seaward, and crumbles. Just the ice in West Antarctica holds sufficient volume to elevate global oceans by more than 3 meters, about 10 feet. This won't occur next year or even soon, likely not within our lifetimes, but over a span brief relative to the endurance of seaside metropolises. Cities like New York, London, Shanghai, Mumbai, and Bangkok are already bracing for elevated waters ahead. Permafrost represents yet another such threshold. The Arctic region is heating up more rapidly than any other part of the globe. Permafrost soil locked in ice for thousands of years is beginning to defrost. Buried within is decayed vegetation and wildlife remains, preserved by the cold before they could break down. With the thaw, bacteria activate, breaking it apart and emitting CO2 and methane. Methane packs a powerful punch as a heat trapper, outstripping CO2's impact on shorter timelines. The cycle feeds itself. Rising heat melts permafrost, which unleashes more emissions, driving further temperature spikes that unlock additional frozen ground. The key uncertainties involve the pace of this unraveling and the volume of carbon it liberates. Projections differ sharply. In the most optimistic scenario, it's a gradual affair, contributing only a minor bump to airborne carbon levels. In the direst, it's explosive and vast, dwarfing efforts to curb fossil fuel output. Scientists deploy sensors throughout the Arctic to track ground heat, gas releases, and shifts in plant cover. Current readings confirm the thaw is in motion, though not at a runaway velocity. Nevertheless, fears persist that a hidden limit might spark a surge, sudden slumps where terrain caves in from melting ice, ponds emerging in thawed zones to boost warming, or blazes devouring exposed organics in a burst of emissions. Such fires aren't confined to the Arctic anymore. They're surging worldwide, fueled by intensifying heat. Drier weather, greater accumulations of dry plant matter as fuel, extended wildfire periods that begin sooner and conclude later, blazes erupting in areas unaccustomed to them. Smoke plumes degrade air purity across thousands of kilometers. Carbon emissions reach substantial levels. Forest depletion reduces the planet's capacity to sequester CO2, forming yet another vicious cycle. Atlantic hurricane activity grows more severe. Storms reaching Category 4 and 5 intensities occur with greater frequency. Elevated sea surface temperatures energize these tempests. With rising ocean heat, cyclones gain additional power. They strengthen more rapidly. They unleash heavier downpours since hotter atmosphere can retain greater amounts of water vapor. They persist for extended durations as shifting wind patterns alter their paths. Shoreline populations confront escalating threats. Insurers are withdrawing from zones prone to extreme danger. Real estate prices drop in areas susceptible to inundation. Strategic withdrawal is gaining traction. The deliberate relocation from imperiled shorelines has evolved beyond mere theory. Everything links together. Climate shifts, species loss, breakdown of ecological networks. These aren't isolated issues. They represent interconnected aspects of a singular emergency, an emergency propelled by human actions across the last 200 years. Combustion of fossil fuels, widespread deforestation, massive reshaping of landmasses. Humanity has transformed the atmosphere's composition. Humanity has disrupted the Earth's thermal equilibrium. Now, the world reacts not out of spite or purpose, but through the inexorable workings of physical laws, chemical reactions, and biological processes amid altered environmental thresholds. Declining emissions in China offer a faint ray of optimism. It demonstrates that transformation remains feasible, that expansion of economies and cuts in greenhouse gases can coexist. Yet, a single nation, a solitary year, an isolated statistic doesn't signal a pattern. Worldwide emissions continue their upward climb. CO2 concentrations in the air keep mounting. The path still leads to considerable temperature rises. The effects unfolding today, the infernos, cyclones, and thawing glaciers, stem from about 1.2°C of heating beyond pre-industrial baselines. Further increases are locked in. Even halting emissions immediately wouldn't halt the warming for decades, owing to the momentum embedded in the climate machinery. The Paris Agreement aimed to cap warming at 1.5°C. That target appears ever more remote. Curbing it to 2 degrees could prove attainable through bold measures. Past 2 degrees, dangers proliferate. Additional tipping elements loom larger. Coping strategies grow more challenging. Expenses soar. Human hardship intensifies. Thus, we stand at an odd juncture, endowed with extraordinary innovations, reviving vanished creatures, harnessing nuclear fusion, constructing quantum machines, while faltering in confronting the fallout from our triumphs. The very creativity that forged modern industry now races to safeguard that industry against undermining the vital natural frameworks it relies upon. Perhaps this constitutes the true challenge. Not our ability to craft remarkable inventions, we clearly possess that, but our capacity to apply those inventions prudently, to collaborate across nations on transnational dilemmas, to plan across generations rather than electoral terms or fiscal quarters, to cherish woodlands, seas, and skies with the same fervor as economic expansion. Emissions in China dropped, marking a modest triumph amid a vast conflict. The mammoth might roam once more, in a way, should colossal prevail. Yet another incremental gain, though such steps fall short. For now. The course must curve more sharply, more swiftly, as additional nations emulate China's surge in clean energy, as further wildlife is preserved to avert the need for revival efforts, as resolve in governance aligns with the enormity of the peril. In October 2025, the Earth heats up, creatures disappear, habitats buckle, and humankind starts to react haltingly, inconsistently, yet with greater resolve than previously. The issue remains, is this gradual, patchy progress sufficient, or are we depleting the window to avert the point of no return? Chapter 7. Medical Miracles of 2025. A groundbreaking gene therapy has slowed the advancement of Huntington's disease by an impressive 75%. This marks a dramatic 75% decrease in the progression of what has long been viewed as an untreatable fatal illness. Huntington's stands out for its ruthless patience among diseases. It lies dormant, allowing carriers to navigate childhood, their 20s and 30s without issue. Symptoms typically emerge in the 40s: uncontrollable motions, deteriorating cognition, and mental health disturbances. In the ensuing decade or two, it erodes physical coordination, recollection, and individual traits. Until recently, no remedy existed, and nothing meaningfully halted its course. In September, physicians from the UK shared their findings. The treatment zeroes in on the Huntington gene itself. This disorder stems from a genetic alteration involving excessive repetitions of a particular DNA segment. The greater the number of repeats, the sooner it strikes and the quicker it worsens. The faulty gene generates a harmful protein that builds up in neurons, especially those governing motion and thought processes. These neurons perish, leading to breakdown in brain matter. Abilities vanish. The strategy employs antisense oligonucleotides, brief synthetic DNA strands that latch onto the messenger RNA from the Huntington gene. Once attached, they halt the RNA's conversion into protein. Reduced harmful protein translates to diminished harm and delayed worsening. Delivering it poses the main hurdle, breaching the blood-brain barrier to reach the vulnerable neurons. The UK researchers overcame this via intrathecal administration, injecting the agent straight into the cerebrospinal fluid that envelops the brain and spine. It then spreads into neural tissue. The effects aren't lasting, as the oligonucleotides degrade eventually, requiring ongoing administrations. Yet, if these can be administered without major risks, if the 75 deceleration proves reliable in expanded studies, and if adverse reactions stay tolerable, Huntington's could shift from a swift killer to a condition that's controllable, albeit not eradicated, merely drawn out. For those families burdened by Huntington's, this breakthrough means the world. As a hereditary dominant trait, a single affected parent gives every offspring a 50 risk of acquiring the defect. Countless at-risk people opt against testing, unwilling to face their destiny. However, with an effective option available, awareness enables proactive steps, altering the equation entirely. Screening evolves from a brush with certain tragedy to a gateway for timely measures. Progress is also evident in type 1 diabetes. In a modest study involving just 12 participants, the outcomes were remarkable. 10 achieved independence from external insulin after 1 year. This form of diabetes arises from autoimmunity, where the body's defenses assault the pancreas's beta cells responsible for insulin. Absent insulin, glucose levels spiral out of control, necessitating perpetual shots, meticulous eating habits, and vigilant monitoring. It's controllable, yet burdensome, and even with optimal care, enduring issues like neuropathy, renal failure, and eyesight loss persist. This cellular therapy flips the script. Rather than curbing the immune onslaught, it replenishes the lost beta cells. In the laboratory, stem cells are guided to mature into insulin-secreting ones. These are then housed in a shielding capsule and placed inside the body. The capsule's design is crucial. It permits inflow of sustenance and air, plus outflow of insulin, while repelling immune invaders. Thus, the fresh beta cells generate insulin unmolested. 10 of the 12 participants went insulin-free post-year 1, a clear indicator of efficacy, not mere chance. The remaining 2 required less insulin, as their new cells operated but hadn't reached peak output. Bigger studies are now underway. Hundreds of patients are lined up for extended monitoring to determine if the benefits endure over years, if complications can genuinely be avoided, and if this approach might evolve into routine care. Picture receiving a type 1 diabetes diagnosis in childhood and hearing that a solution exists. Just one intervention, and it's over. No more daily shots, no endless monitoring, simply an ordinary existence. That prospect isn't reality today, but it's emerging on the horizon, near enough that guardians of kids freshly diagnosed are inquiring with physicians. Should we hold off for the stem cell option? Next up is LSD, where a solitary administration eases worry for months on end. This stems from a rigorously managed study, not anecdotal accounts from personal journeys. It involved individuals battling anxiety conditions that severely hampered daily living. They got a single LSD dose in a guided therapeutic context with a counselor on hand in a secure space, followed by follow-up discussions to unpack the encounter. After half a year, the majority displayed marked drops in anxiety indicators. This wasn't fleeting comfort or a buzz that fades. It's a durable shift in how their minds handle dread and concern. Psychedelics are experiencing a revival in mental health circles, not due to trends or fond memories of the 1960s, but because they deliver results. MDMA aids PTSD, psilocybin tackles depression, ketamine addresses stubborn cases. When applied in clinical settings, these compounds yield effects that traditional drugs often fail to rival, achieving it through one or a handful of sessions rather than lifelong daily regimens. The underlying processes are under investigation, but the trend stands out. These agents boost brain flexibility. They render the mind more adaptable for a time. Entrenched mental habits, the endless brooding cycles, panic loops, and gloomy thought patterns lose their grip. Fresh neural pathways can take shape. Counseling amid and post the psychedelic session supports the adoption of better mental and emotional frameworks. The substance isn't the cure outright, it's the spark that amplifies the impact of psychotherapy. LSD's role in quelling anxiety aligns with this framework. The episode isn't straightforwardly healing. It can be overwhelming or challenging at times, yet it upends the fear networks. It offers a fresh viewpoint, revealing that worry isn't a fixed trait of one's character, but a rut the mind has slipped into, and ruts can be reshaped. The healthcare community is gradually embracing these ideas. The FDA is evaluating proposals for MDMA-supported therapy. Psilocybin holds fast-track status for treating depression. Facilities providing ketamine infusions are proliferating. Oversight remains strict, demanding skilled professionals and clinical oversight, yet it's moving from the margins into mainstream practice. It's legitimate healing. Cystic fibrosis represents yet another condition where the outlook has transformed dramatically. The latest medication stretches survival by decades. This inherited illness impacts the respiratory and gastrointestinal tracts. Dense, adhesive secretions accumulate in the airways, capturing germs and sparking ongoing infections. Those affected need regular chest clearance routines to loosen the buildup. They rely on repeated antibiotic courses. Pulmonary capacity erodes steadily over time. In the past, survival beyond the 30s was rare for most. Enter CFTR correctors medications aimed at the faulty protein driving the pathology. They don't eradicate it. The core mutation lingers, but these therapies revive sufficient activity to normalize the secretion somewhat. Respiratory issues lessen, nutrient uptake enhances. Those living with it now enjoy extended, more vibrant spans. The most recent corrector, hailed for its breakthroughs, elevates projected lifespans to the 60s or further. Individuals with cystic fibrosis today can anticipate jobs, relationships, and even golden years realities once unimaginable for their predecessors. The therapy comes at a steep price, extraordinarily high. This highlights the shadow cast by such advances, vital interventions that outstrip what the average person can pay. In affluent nations, insurance helps cover portions of the cost, yet availability is still uneven. Folks in less developed regions frequently can't obtain these medications whatsoever. Scientific progress outpaces the financial hurdles to distribution. Meanwhile, an astonishing unforeseen finding emerged. The acne medication Accutane could potentially revive sperm generation in men facing infertility. This wasn't intentional or part of a targeted fertility trial. It stemmed from mere observation. Guys using Accutane for intense acne reported better sperm numbers. Their physicians picked up on it. Eventually, researchers decided to investigate it properly. And indeed, evidence suggests a positive impact. It's a limited trial with preliminary outcomes. Yet, if confirmed, it's both odd and remarkable. Accutane belongs to the retinoid family. It influences how cells develop and multiply. Primarily famous for clearing acne by curbing skin oil, it evidently impacts additional areas, such as sperm-producing cells. Male infertility affects many and is frequently baffling. Plenty of instances lack an obvious reason or viable remedy. Should an established FDA-approved drug already given to millions prove beneficial, that's a boon, a fortunate mishap. Such serendipity abounds in science. Penicillin came from mold spoiling a bacteria sample. Viagra, meant for heart issues, revealed unexpected benefits. Minoxidil, aimed at hypertension, sparked hair regrowth as a byproduct and became a go-to for hair loss. Scientists pursuing one goal often trip over something else entirely. That's the value of foundational research. Exploring biology without a narrow goal in sight still yields huge rewards. You can't predict the discoveries. Artificial intelligence is now forecasting health results long before clinicians do. One model, fed everyday blood work, spots indicators linked to spinal injury recovery. These are patterns humans overlook. Far too many factors interplay quietly. The AI uncovers links. Certain mixes of proteins, blood cell figures, and metabolism signals forecast who might recover mobility and who won't. It doesn't reveal the reasons. The connections remain opaque. But reliable forecasts offer real value. Physicians can customize rehab plans, manage hopes appropriately, and direct efforts toward those with the best odds. A different AI examining brain images foresees vision loss well ahead of any warning signs. Conditions like diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, or glaucoma build harm silently in initial phases, while sight stays fine. Detect it soon, and interventions can avert blindness, overlook it, and by symptom onset, much harm is permanent. AI-based detection could go routine brain imaging for all. The system highlights at-risk cases. Those people receive tighter watch. Therapy kicks in at the earliest hint. This embodies precision medicine, shifting from broad group stats to personal forecasts, from addressing illness once it shows to stopping it beforehand. Genomics set the stage. Each person's genes vary a bit, altering disease odds, drug reactions, and more. Map your DNA and providers can customize care. Layer on lifelong health records, data from fitness trackers, and AI insights, and healthcare turns fully individualized. However, it's pricey. Imaging every brain, decoding every genome. AI demands vast data sets, hefty computation, skilled pros. It shines in rich countries with top-tier systems. It falters where even essentials are scarce. The divide between potential and reality grows. Tech surges forward, policy, funding, and fairness trail. Even so, the path is evident. Healthcare excels more at fixes once deemed outlandish. Gene therapies, cell treatments, mind-altering therapies, and AI-driven diagnostics are transforming healthcare. Gone are the days of simply easing symptoms. We're now targeting the underlying issues, repairing defective genes, restoring injured tissues, and reconnecting disrupted neural pathways. Yet, certain illnesses continue to defy our efforts. Alzheimer's remains a heartbreaking scourge. After years of intense study and massive funding, options only modestly delay its advance. Cancer still claims too many lives, even as detection improves and targeted attacks grow more precise. Persistent pain is often inadequately controlled. Mental health care succeeds for some, but leaves others behind. The roster of unresolved health challenges stretches on. Meanwhile, the tally of newly conquered ones keeps expanding. Ailments once deemed hopeless are turning treatable. Disorders that once spelled premature ends now allow extended years. Huntington's progression has been curbed by 75. Type 1 diabetes might soon be eradicated via cell-based approaches. A one-time LSD dose can ease anxiety for extended periods. Cystic fibrosis sufferers are reaching their 60s. Progress comes step by step, each advance resting on long years of groundwork. Collectively, though, they signal a profound shift in medicine's capabilities. And the momentum is quickening. Additional targets emerge, fresh treatments advance through pipelines, and superior instruments become accessible. CRISPR turns genetic modification into everyday practice. Stem cell methods refine further. AI sifts through enormous datasets, spotting trends invisible to human eyes. The backbone of biological research labs, equipment, data repositories, and digital resources advances annually in power. In October 2025, the 75 reduction in Huntington's was revealed. 10 out of 12 diabetes cases achieved independence from insulin. LSD demonstrated sustained anxiety reduction. Cystic fibrosis therapies gained acclaim. Accutane appears to boost male fertility. AI forecasts blindness well in advance. These tales stand alone, yet stepping back reveals the broader trend. We're amid a brilliant era of medical innovation, not sparked by a single wonder drug, but driven by a whole ecosystem churning out discoveries quicker than we can fully grasp them. The real hurdle today lies in distribution, ensuring these innovations reach all who require them, rendering them cost-effective, preparing sufficient physicians and counselors to deliver care, constructing the necessary centers, production sites, and logistics networks. Scientific gains are surging ahead of practical rollout. We possess the knowledge for feats we can't yet scale widely. This beats stagnation or constant setbacks. Still, it's an obstacle demanding attention. Overcoming it calls for more than lab work, smart policies, sound economics, collective resolve, and a commitment to sharing medical gains equitably, beyond just the wealthy. so that 2025's innovations evolve into routine practice by 2035, so the world we're shaping diminishes illness and hardship for all, not merely the privileged. Chapter 8. Cosmic findings are speeding up. We've now confirmed 6 exoplanets circling distant stars, 6,000 realms outside our own system. This benchmark arrived on September 17, 2025, with surprisingly little fanfare. By now, spotting these worlds is commonplace. We uncover dozens monthly. The debate has shifted from whether other stars host planets. It now centers on their varieties. How frequent are Earth-resembling ones? Might any support life? The 6th find isn't remarkable, a massive gas planet around a star much like our Sun, roughly 800 light-years distant. Labeled a hot Jupiter, it's akin to Jupiter in scale, but hugs its star so tightly that radiation erodes its atmosphere. Any solid ground below the gases, if present, scorches at thousands of degrees. No prospects for biology or settlement, but fascinating insights into the processes of planetary development. Why would a massive gas world position itself so near its Sun? Was it created right there, or did it shift closer over time? The very first exoplanet got verified back in 1995. Just 3 decades later, we've surged from a single find to more than 6,000. That expansion has followed a rapid exponential trajectory. The initial breakthroughs happened at a leisurely pace. Spotting worlds circling other suns presents an immense challenge. Such planets generate no light of their own. They simply echo a subtle gleam from their parent stars, and they're minuscule by comparison. Observing a planet hugging its star is akin to trying to catch sight of a firefly parked next to a blazing searchlight from countless kilometers off. That's why we rely on indirect techniques. The transit approach monitors the subtle fading of a star's glow as a world crosses its path. When the orbital path lines up with our viewpoint, we notice consistent drops in luminosity. The depth of each drop reveals the planet's dimensions. The timing of these events indicates the orbital cycle. The radial velocity technique tracks the subtle sway of a star due to the gravitational tug from circling planets. As the world loops around, it pulls the star gently toward us and then away. This manifests as a Doppler effect in the star's spectrum. A red shift appears when it's receding, a blue shift when approaching. These approaches succeed, yet they carry inherent biases. The transit method prefers systems where orbits align with our perspective. Radial velocity leans toward hefty planets orbiting tightly, since they induce more pronounced shifts. Remote, low-mass worlds prove elusive. Even Earth would be tough to spot from afar with these tools. Thus, the over 6,000 exoplanets we've identified don't form a balanced overview. They're mainly the low-hanging fruit, the simplest to uncover. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory alters that dynamic. It kicked off activities toward the end of 2025. Unlike orbital observatories, this one sits on Chilean soil, equipped with an 8.4-meter mirror and a camera packing 2 billion pixels, the biggest digital imager ever crafted for celestial studies. Its sweep of the sky is vast. It captures the full observable heavens every few evenings. The aim is to produce a dynamic film of the cosmos, tracking all motion and evolution. For exoplanet research, this enables spotting worlds via microlensing. As one star drifts across a farther one in the backdrop, its mass bends space like a lens, temporarily boosting the distant star's brightness. Should the nearer star host planets, those add their own faint gravitational boosts. Such occurrences are infrequent for individual targets, but with Rubin scanning the whole sky non-stop, uncommon phenomena turn routine. Plus, microlensing picks up worlds regardless of their separation from the host icy, far-flung ones that entirely evade transit and velocity detection. Rubin should uncover thousands of exoplanets, possibly tens of thousands. Beyond that, it'll spot asteroids, exploding stars, dark holes, echoes of gravitational ripples, close-approach rocks, and virtually any sky dweller that shifts or varies. The influx of data is overwhelming. 15 terabytes nightly, night after night, across a decade. That's precisely why artificial intelligence and automated learning prove indispensable. No human team could handle that flood. Software routines comb the flood, highlighting promising anomalies for deeper scrutiny. Meanwhile, as Rubin observes from the ground, orbital scopes dissect exoplanet airs. The James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, scrutinizes rays filtering through these atmospheres amid transits. During a world's passage before its sun, portions of the stellar rays pass through the gaseous envelope en route to us. Various compounds soak up specific light bands. The resulting spectrum bears molecular signatures. Think water steam, CO2, methane, ammonia, or even hints of life-linked vapors such as oxygen or phosphine. Last September, stargazers revealed oxygen traces in the air of the remotest galaxy on record, JADE's GS Z14 Lyrae. Music. This distant realm lies 4 billion light-years off. We're glimpsing it from just 400 million years post-Big Bang. Bang. The cosmos was still in its youth. Stars were only starting to emerge in vast quantities, and surprisingly, oxygen was already detectable. This element emerges within stellar cores via nuclear fusion and gets dispersed when enormous stars detonate as supernovae. Detecting it so soon indicates that star formation and development were already progressing rapidly in the primordial universe. Multiple cycles of stars had come into being, perished, and scattered heavier elements across the void. This early oxygen bears no connection to biological processes. It's far too premature for any form of life, but it sheds light on the gradual buildup of chemicals throughout the universe. The pace at which stars ignited and matured. The timeline for when the fundamental materials for worlds and, ultimately, living organisms became accessible. Our planet consists primarily of oxygen, silicon, iron, and various metals beyond hydrogen and helium in atomic weight. Every one of those substances originated in stellar furnaces. The notion that we are composed of stardust isn't mere poetic fancy. It's an undeniable reality. And the James Webb Space Telescope is unveiling the mechanics of that stellar alchemy during the universe's earliest phases. In our own solar backyard, auroras on Neptune have been imaged for the very first time. These displays arise when solar wind particles, charged with energy, collide with a world's magnetic shield, channeling toward the poles and energizing atmospheric particles. Here on our planet, we know them as the Aurora Borealis and Australis. They're routine sights on gas giants like Jupiter and Saturn, yet Neptune's distance from the Sun renders its versions dim and elusive. By merging Hubble's visible light data with JWST's infrared views, scientists have finally documented them. Why is this significant? Auroral phenomena provide insights into a planet's magnetism and air makeup. Neptune's lights expose a magnetic field that's skewed away from its spin axis, tilted and shifted out of alignment. That's atypical. Typically, planetary fields align more or less with rotational axes. Neptune's is chaotic and intricate. Figuring out its origins deepens our grasp of internal planetary dynamics. Such fields arise from dynamo effects in fluid, conductive zones buried deep within worlds. The misalignment hints at quirky features in Neptune's core, perhaps stratified layers of substances or uneven convective flows. These nuances are crucial for unraveling how planets take shape. What processes birth ice giants? Why do they proliferate around distant stars while being scarce in our system? What factors dictate a robust magnetic shield? Neptune stands as our prime nearby specimen. Probing it refines simulations for countless icy exoplanets out there. A fresh quasi-moon has been spotted lurking in Earth's orbital path. These aren't genuine satellites. They don't circle our planet directly. Instead, they trace paths around the Sun, but their trajectories sync with Earth's in a manner that gives the illusion of companionship from our vantage. In truth, they pursue independent solar loops that harmonize with ours. This particular one has likely trailed us for years, possibly centuries. It simply evaded detection until recently. The find underscores the gaps in our knowledge of the local cosmic turf. Near-Earth objects, asteroids, comets, minor bodies zipping nearby or overlapping our space abound. The vast majority pose no threat. A few could spell danger. We monitor them diligently, log their paths, compute trajectories, and verify no impacts loom. Yet surprises keep popping up. The heavens teem with debris, and our scans remain patchy. That's the rationale behind initiatives like the Rubin Observatory. Wide-ranging celestial sweeps to spot every object above a minimal scale, pinpointing orbits precisely to forecast close calls far into the future. Safeguarding our world demands awareness of the threats lurking. You can't nudge an asteroid aside without spotting it first. We're equipped with deflection tools today, impactors for kinetic redirection, gravitational tugs, even nuclear blasts for dire straits. The real challenge lies in spotting and following them. China is pushing boldly into the orbital domain. Their declared aim is to return. China is pushing ahead with plans to retrieve actual samples from Mars, going beyond mere robotic scouting by scooping up rocks from the red planet and transporting them back home for detailed lab examination. That's precisely what NASA aimed to achieve with its Perseverance rover, though they've faced ongoing challenges in securing the necessary funding. Beijing views this as a prime chance to shine. Successfully completing a Mars sample return mission while NASA hesitates would represent a huge boost to their global image, a showcase of advanced capabilities, a breakthrough in research, and a bold assertion of influence on the world stage. But worries linger around containment. Returning materials from an alien world demands strict measures to avoid any risk of polluting our planet. The odds of discovering life on Mars are slim, and the chance that such life could harm Earth life are slimmer still, yet they're not impossible. Established guidelines are in place, return capsules get built with airtight seals, and they're only accessed within high-security biological containment labs. The materials undergo scrutiny and isolation, and they're not freed for wider investigation until safety is verified. The big uncertainty is whether China will adhere to these standards. Will they permit oversight from international experts on their safeguarding techniques? Will they disclose findings from the samples or keep it all under wraps within their own systems? Researchers worldwide are keeping a close eye. Proposals for joint efforts have been extended. Sharing the analysis across global laboratories would yield far richer insights. However, space initiatives often double as national security tools. Innovations from sample retrieval could serve military purposes or strengthen diplomatic positioning. China may opt to proceed independently. At the same time, NASA's finances are squeezed tight. Suggested reductions are jeopardizing research endeavors. The Europa Clipper, aimed at probing Jupiter's icy satellite Europa, lifted off without issues, yet subsequent explorations hang in doubt. The Mars sample return effort, already plagued by setbacks, risks even more postponements or outright scrapping. The Artemis initiative, focused on sending people back to the lunar surface, is devouring funds. Crewed voyages come at a steep price. While backing from leaders exists, it squeezes out automated scientific projects. This highlights the ongoing conflict in cosmic pursuits. Machines offer efficient value. They venture into hazardous zones beyond human reach. No need for survival gear, provisions, or safe journeys home. Yet people stir far greater fascination among the public than automatons do. The Apollo era mesmerized audiences everywhere. The Perseverance vehicle, for all its vital discoveries, fails to spark equivalent thrill. As a result, resources pour into manned ventures, even if uncrewed ones provide superior knowledge bang for the buck. The Trump era's ambitious legislation championed grand lunar crewed efforts, but accompanying slashes sidelined NASA's research arm. Artemis secures its allocation. Meanwhile, planetary observation platforms face the axe. It's a deliberate selection, reflecting core values. Outer space as a frontier for human expansion, or as a vast testing ground to unravel cosmic secrets. Each approach holds merit. Each warrants backing, though resources remain limited. Decisions must be reached. Private industry is stepping in to cover certain voids. Companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab, and more are deploying payloads, constructing networks, and providing capabilities once NASA's sole domain. This fosters lower expenses and fresh ideas. Still, businesses prioritize ventures that turn a profit, such as telecom arrays, monitoring our world from orbit, or joyrides beyond the atmosphere. Exploratory tasks without financial payoff continue relying on public investment. The corporate world won't dispatch orbiters to examine Neptune's glowing lights or harvest frozen bits from Enceladus. That's the realm of state agencies. Half a century back, NASA dispatched a pair of probes to hunt for signs of life on Mars via the Viking program. Debates over their outcomes persist today. The life detection tests produced mixed signals. Certain assays hinted at tiny organisms at work, while others showed nothing. Experts generally agree the reactions were likely due to non-living chemistry rather than biology. Even so, skepticism lingers. Suppose Viking truly picked up on Martian bugs and we brushed it off. Imagine if the setups weren't equipped to spot the forms of existence that thrive there. This is why returning Mars samples to Earth is crucial. We must transport those rocks back home and examine them using every available instrument. Put them through experiments that the Viking missions couldn't conduct. Search for isotopic markers, organic compounds, cellular formations, whatever it takes to settle the debate once and for all. The intriguing patterns in Perseverance's Sapphire Canyon sample are promising, yet promises aren't proof. Those samples are essential, and we can't afford to let another nation claim them first. If China manages a Mars sample return ahead of us, they'll author the opening pages of this saga. They'll claim the glory and shape the storyline. Scientifically speaking, it shouldn't matter which country retrieves the samples, provided they do and share the findings openly. But geopolitically, the stakes are sky high. Space is turning into a battleground, not only for knowledge, but for power. Satellites power today's armed forces, global communications, GPS systems, and surveillance efforts. Orbital clutter is escalating into a major hazard. Excessive waste circling above us leads to crashes that generate even more fragments. These chain reactions could render some orbits off-limits. International agreements regulate space conduct, though oversight remains feeble. The Outer Space Treaty declares space for peaceful uses only and bans weapons of mass destruction up there. However, it dates back to 1967. Today's orbital realm is far more intricate. Nations like China, the United States, Russia, India, and more have shown off their abilities to take down satellites. Knocking out one spacecraft spawns debris clouds that endanger others. It's a challenge with no straightforward fixes. Clearing up space junk isn't straightforward. Efforts include engineering spacecraft to self-destruct by re-entering the atmosphere after their useful life. Monitoring fragments and steering operational satellites clear of impacts helps too. Still, the core problem persists. Space is overcrowding without a worldwide body to direct the flow. The International Space Station is showing its age. It wasn't built for such endurance. Components are deteriorating and upkeep never stops. Its prospects are unclear. Russia has hinted at pulling out. Funding limits cloud any successor plans. Private ventures like Axiom and Orbital Reef are in the works, but their distant horizons relying on steady investments. The ISS's demise would hinder space studies, though not disastrously. Plenty of its functions could shift to private outposts or automated setups. Yet the station stands as an icon of unity. It represents global teamwork and non-stop human activity in orbit for more than 20 years. Its end would sting beyond logistics. It would echo symbolically. Still, humanity's push into space presses on. Launches keep happening. Breakthroughs keep piling up. The sixth Sagitt exoplanet has been verified. Oxygen has turned up in the universe's oldest galaxies. Neptune's polar lights have been captured on camera. Fresh quasi-moons have been spotted. Someone will bring back Mars samples in due time. The Vera Rubin Observatory is gearing up to activate. The JWST is unveiling cosmic secrets through infrared eyes. Private firms are erecting frameworks, while public bodies stretch the frontiers. Space is immense beyond our wildest grasp, and our journey has only just started. 6,000 exoplanets seems impressive until you consider the likely trillions in the Milky Way by itself. We've probed only a few solar system objects in detail. Hundreds more we've scarcely observed. Landings have occurred on the Moon and Mars, Venus, Titan, asteroids, and comets. Flybys have skimmed most worlds, but enormous territories stay untouched. Coming years promise voyages to watery realms like Europa, Enceladus, and Titan sites with liquid water or methane hidden under frozen shells where reactions could brew, where unfamiliar life forms might thrive. Expect bolder Mars ventures, crewed arrivals, perhaps lasting outposts, in situ resource use to craft propellant, hydration, and construction supplies from local regolith. Asteroid prospecting will move from fantasy to reality, with real enterprises outlining genuine strategies to harvest ice and minerals. Resources from asteroids close to Earth hold great potential. The financial aspects remain unpredictable. The tech involved poses significant hurdles, yet the materials are plentiful. These asteroids boast platinum group metals at levels much richer than those in Earth's crust. Water extracted there could be broken down into hydrogen and oxygen to power rockets. Once expenses drop sufficiently, harvesting resources in space turns into a practical endeavor. We'll continue discovering exoplanets, not only gas giants, but also rocky planets, super-Earths, mini-Neptunes, and in time, genuine Earth-like counterparts. Worlds of the ideal dimensions, positioned at the perfect orbital distance from their stars, featuring atmospheres that reveal traces of water vapor and oxygen, and perhaps, at long last, hints of biological activity. The cosmos stretches out endlessly. If life thrives beyond our planet, it's likely widespread. We simply haven't detected it so far. Each year brings sharper instruments to the hunt, and the effort is gaining momentum. Chapter 9. Biology defying its established principles, an ant species from Europe that replicates individuals from an entirely separate species. Take a moment to absorb that. It's not duplicating its own members, it's replicating another species altogether. As one scientist described it, this borders on pure fantasy. It upends our core understandings of breeding, species limits, and the drivers of evolution. Nevertheless, it's occurring in ant societies throughout Europe at this very moment. The species is Lasius neglectus, an invasive invader that's expanded across the continent in recent decades. It forms what's known as supercolonies. Enormous webs of linked nests that cover kilometers. There's no clear separation among these colonies, no hostility among workers from separate sites. Instead, it's one vast unified community. That's remarkable enough on its own. Typical ant groups are fiercely territorial. Individuals from rival colonies battle fiercely, often fatally. But workers of Lucius neglectus identify one another as kin over immense expanses. Even more astonishing, scientists have uncovered that the queens generate workers who aren't their biological descendants. This isn't via standard mating, it's through cloning, yet not of their own lineage. They manage to clone workers from a distinct but related species, Lasius paralinus. Researchers are still unraveling the process, but DNA testing leaves no doubt. The workers in these setups carry the genetic signature of Lasius paralinus, not Lasius neglectus. Still, they're created by Lasius neglectus queens. The primary theory points to pilfered eggs or larvae. The queens obtain genetic elements from the foreign species and employ them to generate workers. This might involve commandeering reproductive elements or some undocumented type of genetic parasitism. The resulting workers perform effectively. They act just like typical ant laborers, gathering food, tending to the young, and protecting the colony. Genetically, though, they align with a different species. Such a feat shouldn't be feasible. Within species cloning occurs regularly in the wild. Think certain lizards, fish, and even ants that use parthenogenesis to create young without males. But interspecies cloning, where one entity replicates the genome of another, shatters basic tenets of biology. Evidently, those tenets aren't unbreakable, since it's real. Evolution ignores human-imposed limits. It favors whatever boosts survival and propagation. If generating cloned workers from a rival species aids these queens, that trait will propagate. Perhaps these workers excel in specific roles, or they serve as more disposable units, or the added genetic variation fortifies the colony against illnesses or invaders. The exact benefit isn't fully understood yet, but it exists. Without it, this odd tactic wouldn't have taken hold. The ramifications extend broadly. If ants pull this off, what other creatures might? Could more life forms be eroding species lines undetected? Just how many of our ideas on breeding and heredity are mere shortcuts? Biology is, the deeper we dig, the more anomalies we uncover that challenge what we once considered ironclad principles. Psilocybin and magic mushrooms developed on two separate occasions via entirely distinct biochemical routes. Scientists revealed this through genetic sequencing of various species that generate the compound. The responsible genes show no familial ties. These two mushroom clusters devised ways to produce identical substances using wholly unrelated chemical processes. It's a prime example of convergent evolution on a molecular scale, akin to how flight appendages arose separately in bugs, avians, and chiropterans, or vision organs in backbone animals and cephalopods. Comparable answers to parallel challenges emerging from divergent origins. Yet, the parallel development of such an intricate compound stands out as exceptional. Chemical structures demand exactness. Precise proteins are required to drive every phase of creation. That several mushroom branches separately crafted full production systems for psilocybin indicates the substance offers substantial survival benefits. What benefits, exactly? Fungi generate psilocybin within their fruiting structures, the visible portions emerging from the soil, the ones consumed by creatures. The compound alters creature conduct, triggering shifts in awareness, emotional states, or even repulsion. It might discourage plant eaters. Consume this fungus, endure a bizarre and disagreeable episode. You adapt and steer clear next time. Alternatively, it could lure specific beasts that aid in spreading reproductive cells. Ingest this fungus, hallucinate, retain a sharp memory of it, share the location with peers. Heightened focus leads to broader dissemination of spores. Certainty eludes us, but the reality that evolutionary pressures champion psilocybin synthesis robustly enough for dual independent origins underscores its role in fungal prosperity. Moreover, its capacity to profoundly influence human cognition, sparking deep mental journeys, appears coincidental. People weren't the driving force behind its selection. Fungi crafted psilocybin eons prior to humanity's arrival. Still, the substance binds to serotonin sites in mammalian neural systems. Our brain wiring mirrors closely enough that of the fauna munching these fungi for us to experience its impacts as well. Sperm bots represent minuscule mechanical aids navigable along fertility pathways. Experts constructed them, trialed them in simulated cervical and uterine setups, and validated the approach's viability. The aim centers on assisted reproduction, aiding sperm in accessing ovia amid reduced natural movement. In men, sterility frequently stems from sperm unable to navigate effectively, exhibiting poor swimming ability or irregular forms. The gametes remain viable and chromosomally sound, yet fail the voyage. A sperm bot constitutes a tiny apparatus that latches onto a sperm and supplies motive power. External magnetic forces steer it, directing passage through the genital canal directly to the ovum. It then detaches. Fertilization proceeds as usual. The device stays neutral, body-friendly, and ultimately degrades or gets expelled naturally. Conceptually, it's ingenious. Practically, hurdles persist, maneuvering the intricate terrain, avoiding harm to the sperm or adjacent tissues, guaranteeing timely detachment. Nonetheless, the prototype succeeds in lab settings. Such breakthroughs echo speculative tales until realized, morphing into commonplace therapeutic tools. Initially odd, they grow ordinary. Should sperm bots evolve into routine reproductive aids, 2 decades from now, they'll provoke no surprise. They'll match the everyday status of in vitro fertilization today. IVF sparked debates on overstepping boundaries at its inception. Test tube offspring equated to divine interference. Today, it's a vast economic sector birthing countless individuals. An unusually vivid orange shark turned up in the Caribbean waters, marking the inaugural sighting of its sort. Such bright hues in sharks prove extraordinarily uncommon. Typically, they sport subdued grays, tans, or tones that blend seamlessly. This specimen stands out with its bright orange hue, making it extremely noticeable, thanks to 2 uncommon genetic traits: albinism and erythrism. Albinism strips away normal coloration, while erythrism introduces extra red tones. Combined, these create the striking orange appearance. Essentially, it's a dual mutation that allows the shark to thrive, even though it's so prominent in a habitat where blending in is crucial. Perhaps the vivid orange offers some unforeseen benefit. In the deep sea, sharks don't depend as much on sight-based hiding. Their food sources typically detect prey through electric signals or scent trails. So a flashy orange shade down there could be irrelevant. It might even aid in identifying others of its kind. For breeding, group interactions, who knows? Yet, reaching maturity as an orange shark implies that this trait isn't a quick death sentence. Often, alterations that appear harmful prove harmless or advantageous under certain conditions. Consider a bloom that emits the odor of perishing ants, Vinci toxicum nakayanum. This species has developed to imitate the alarm pheromones ants give off during spider assaults. The purpose? Drawing in insects like flies. Those flies are drawn to the aroma of distressed ants, likely viewing it as a potential meal. Fallen ants, victims of spiders' flies, scout for carrion or similar chances to feed, and in the process of checking out the flower, they end up fertilizing it. From the fly's viewpoint, it's pure chance, yet the plant's development has masterminded it all. This represents trickery in pollination pushed to an odd limit. Plenty of flora fool their pollinators. Think of orchids resembling female bugs, luring males to try copulation and thus transferring pollen. Blooms that reek of decaying flesh to summon scavenging insects. Yet copying the exact scent signature of besieged ants is remarkably precise. The flora must generate a mix of airborne chemicals identical to the ant's release. Plus, the flies must have adapted to link that smell with nourishment. It's an intricate setup involving multiple players. Ants, arachnids, dipterans, vegetation each pursuing their instincts. Still, the plant weaves into this dynamic, capitalizing on the fly's reactions to boost its own propagation. Canines possess the ability to mentally sort playthings by their purpose. Beyond merely identifying single items, they group them conceptually. Research involving various toys, where pups were prompted to fetch particular types, revealed this. Certain dogs managed to apply patterns broadly. They grasped that every sphere shares traits, every tug toy follows suit. Such grouping goes beyond rote recall or name reactions. It's comprehending that items fit into utility-based classes. This points to deeper mental processing than canines typically get credit for. They're not merely obedient or command-following. They can develop ideas, realizing things cluster by attributes beyond looks. A fuzzy tennis sphere and a bouncy rubber one differ visually but serve alike. A pup grasping that performs advanced thinking. It's constructing internal frameworks of item connections. Likely, this skill spills over elsewhere. Canines sort humans into kin, outsiders, dangers, allies. They sort spots as secure, risky, engaging. They sort actions as fun, hostile, yielding. The plaything experiments indicate such sorting isn't just innate, it's acquired, adaptable. Pups build fresh groupings from encounters. Such mental prowess underpins intricate group dynamics. Pack life, teamwork, anticipating peers' moves. Canines co-evolved with people over many millennia, their minds tuned to our communal landscape. Sorting forms a key piece of that tuning. Microbes within human cerebrums vary alongside rest cycles. This upends the notion of the mind as a germ-free zone. For years, scientists believed that normal brains were free of bacteria, thanks to the blood-brain barrier blocking their entry. Any bacteria found there signaled serious trouble, like meningitis or syphilis. Yet, cutting-edge methods now reveal bacterial elements in the tissue of healthy brains, with concentrations shifting alongside sleep-wake patterns. This isn't an invasive illness, it's more of a subtle, ongoing presence. It might stem from microbes living in vessels close to the brain or from byproducts of intestinal bacteria slipping through the blood to influence the mind. Researchers are still unpacking the consequences, but if these microbial bits can sway neural activity and fluctuate with daily rhythms, the connection between gut and brain turns out to be far more immediate than previously imagined. Your diet and the microbes in your intestines could directly tweak brain chemistry moment by moment, not merely via vitamins, but via bacterial waste products and chemical messengers. This sheds light on various puzzles, such as the link between digestive wellness and psychological states, the the mental fog that can follow antibiotic use, or how skipping meals or tweaking what you eat might shift emotions and thinking. The brain doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's woven into a broader network, one that features billions of gut microbes churning out substances that flow into the blood and arrive at neural sites. Honeybees turn to pollen not only as nourishment, but as a remedy. Packed inside are bacteria from the Streptococcus family, which generate natural defenses against germs. As bees gather pollen, they unwittingly pick up these microbes too. Those bacteria settle into the hive, releasing substances that combat invaders like bee ailments, mold outbreaks, or crop blights that might spoil the reserves. Bees aren't deliberately farming these organisms, yet they reap the rewards of their company. It's a classic symbiotic relationship. The bacteria gain a secure habitat, while the bees enjoy built-in safeguards. This setup also showcases horizontal gene sharing at work, though indirectly through intertwined ecosystems rather than straight DNA swaps. Bees, microbes, and blooms all interconnect, molding one another's development over time. Plants harboring helpful bacteria draw more pollinator visits. Bees that carry and host such microbes thrive better. Strains of bacteria that yield bee-friendly chemicals spread widely. Across countless cycles, this web evolves together, with every element fine-tuning to the other's traits. The black mamba's poison hides a secret that accounts for why some antidotes fall short. These serpents rank among the deadliest reptiles, swift, bold, and loaded with toxins. Their venom mixes nerve poisons, specialized proteins that disrupt nerve impulses, leading to muscle shutdown and ultimately breathing collapse. Standard antivenom counters this by deploying antibodies that latch onto the venom components, stopping them from hitting vital spots. Still, antivenom fails in certain cases, leaving patients to perish. Recent studies uncovered the reason. The venom launches a two-pronged assault. The initial strike involves the well-known nerve agents, which strike quickly to induce flaccid immobility ones that antivenom can typically disarm. But a follow-up phase relies on distinct proteins that work more gradually, triggering a contrasting form of paralysis, not the usual limpness. Crucially, current antivenoms overlook these secondary agents. So, even if the opening salvo gets blocked, the backup onslaught proves fatal. This insight clarifies past treatment setbacks and calls for updated formulas that tackle both protein types, addressing the complete range of mamba venom. The same holds for numerous other snake poisons, their intricate blends in perpetual flux. Reptiles boasting multifaceted venoms excel as hunters, as quarry that dodges one toxin type often falls to the next. These predator-prey battles unfold across eons, with toxins growing ever craftier, victims building tougher defenses, and poisons evolving in response. We catch glimpses of this dynamic in progress. Black mamba venom, with its paired strategy, stands as a prime example. A single glimpse into the intricate world of biology serves as a stark reminder that it's far more intricate than our present knowledge suggests. In September 2025, scientists observed European ants replicating members of other species. Psilocybin-producing mushrooms have independently developed this compound via two distinct routes. Microscopic sperm robots are maneuvering through synthetic fertility channels. Sharks with bright orange hues endure thanks to dual genetic alterations. Blooms that imitate the appearance of deceased ants to lure pollinating insects. Canines organizing their playthings in their minds based on purpose. Microbes residing in the brains of healthy individuals shift patterns in sync with rest cycles. Honeybees harness microbes within flower dust to combat infections. The poison of black mambas conceals elusive tactics that undermine antidotes. Every breakthrough acts like a fragment of a mosaic, bridging voids, uncovering links, and demonstrating that existence is more bizarre and resourceful than we ever supposed. Natural selection defies the patterns we impose. It devises fixes beyond our foresight. It shatters limits we assumed unbreakable. It forges bonds, processes, and tactics that appear implausible until evidence emerges. At that point, they simply embody the essence of life. This stands as yet another illustration of the remarkable outcomes from 4 billion years of adaptation, where environmental demands intersect with hereditary diversity across immense timescales. The principles outlined in educational materials represent broad approximations. They're handy for grasping typical scenarios, yet the wild is brimming with outliers, and those anomalies frequently prove the most captivating. Chapter 10 delves into innovations that echo tales from speculative fiction. Speeds reaching 100 gigabits per second, that's 10,000 times the velocity of 5G. Precisely 10,000-fold, not a mere 10 boost or double the pace. Such feats are achievable with the latest 6G processors. They offer comprehensive frequency handling, sending and capturing signals throughout the full range designated for mobile networks. The potential impacts are mind-boggling. Imagine grabbing a complete 4K film in mere moments, broadcasting several ultra-clear video streams at once, free of any delays, linking countless gadgets in crowded settings minus bottlenecks. This isn't a minor upgrade, it's a profound advancement in mobile tech. While 5G promised radical change and delivered in niches like factory robotics, distant operations, and self-driving cars for everyday users, it often registers as just a tad quicker than 4G. The game-changing uses haven't fully emerged. This stems in part from unfinished networks, in part from the effort needed to craft apps for fresh potentials, but chiefly because 5G, though swifter than its predecessor, lacks the distinction to unlock wholly novel scenarios. In contrast, 6G crosses that threshold. Operating at 100 gigabits per second, data capacity ceases to limit us. Response times plunge to virtually nothing, a handful of milliseconds, bordering on instant. Such performance unlocks feats now out of reach. Genuine holographic exchanges, beyond mere screens, lifelike three-dimensional images of individuals beamed live. Immersive virtual environments that blur with tangible reality. Enhanced reality layers integrated seamlessly, without noticeable hiccups. Neural links streaming brain signals over the air. Health monitors delivering non-stop detailed scans, independent machines syncing efforts instantly over expansive areas. The core tech relies on silicon photonics, channeling light rather than current for data flow. Light particles outpace electrons and convey denser payloads. This approach embeds light-based elements directly into silicon circuits. Leveraging the identical fabrication methods for standard processors, it promises widespread rollout and plummeting prices with scale. Early 6G units will cost a premium, yet mirroring trends in chip evolution, they could turn affordable and commonplace in under 10 years. China is pushing aggressively to launch 6G ahead of rivals. They view it as pivotal. The nation mastering tomorrow's mobile foundations will steer the online marketplace, set norms, secure inventions, and lead hardware creation. China aims to claim that leading role. It's reminiscent of how the United States approached tech advancements in earlier eras. They're pouring resources into constructing experimental networks, securing patents, and crafting new uses for the technology. The aim is to launch commercial 6G systems by 2030, just 5 years from now. The US and Europe lag behind once more, scrambling to close the gap. On the healthcare front, scientists have invented a specialized glue gun for bone grafts. This tool 3D prints bone-like substance straight onto broken areas, skipping external braces, metal implants, or fasteners in favor of a framework that living bone cells can colonize and transform into genuine tissue. The gadget dispenses a safe, body-friendly mixture loaded with calcium phosphate, collagen, and stimulants for growth. This blend sets rapidly, in mere minutes, stabilizing the injury on the spot. Over the following weeks, bone-building cells called osteoblasts move in, laying down fresh bone material. Eventually, the framework breaks down and gets supplanted by actual living bone. This innovation tackles a key challenge in bone surgery. It handles tough spots for breaks, intricate injuries, and bones prone to slow recovery. Today, doctors rely on metallic fixtures like plates and screws, which function well yet remain as lifelong implants. These often lead to irritation, disrupt scans, and occasionally require follow-up operations for extraction. Bone transplants offer another option, sourcing material from the patient's own body or from donors. However, drawbacks abound: limited supply, pain at harvest sites, and chances of immune reactions or contamination. An on-demand printed framework sidesteps every one of these issues. It's fully compatible with the body, merges seamlessly with native bone, and stays put without needing removal. The glue gun method proves essential here. It lets surgeons deposit the substance with pinpoint accuracy, building it up in layers to form custom 3D shapes that fit the body's contours, seal voids, and span gaps. The texture resembles toothpaste, sturdy to retain form, yet pliable for easy flow, and it delivers. Tests on animals have yielded promising outcomes, with human studies now underway. Should it prove safe and reliable, this could become a go-to instrument in surgical suites. Mending fractures would grow quicker, require fewer incisions, and yield better results overall. Quantum computing keeps spawning inventions that stretch the imagination. Consider a cooling apparatus that slashes heat output by a factor of 10,000. These machines run at temps brushing absolute zero, around a few millikelvins. That demands cutting-edge chillers, like dilution refrigerators and ultra-cold setups that siphon off warmth. Yet those very systems produce their own heat through compressors, circulators, and circuits. The excess energy must vent somewhere. Typically, it dissipates via radiation into the surroundings. But up in orbit, shedding heat gets tricky. Without air for conduction or currents, only radiative cooling works, and that's inefficient. This becomes crucial for quantum payloads in satellites, orbital quantum links, and detectors aloft. Such setups depend on quantum processors, but sustaining the chill in vacuum poses a hurdle. The latest cooling tech employs novel substances and designs to direct heat away far more effectively. It drops the heat burden by 4 orders of magnitude, meaning 10,000 times less to manage. Suddenly, quantum gear in space feels feasible. You can sustain the frigid conditions for stable quantum states minus bulky cooling rigs. The unit itself is small, energy efficient, and slated for a 2026 demo flight on a prototype orbiter. Success here would unlock quantum ops beyond Earth. Think secure satellite-to-satellite links leveraging entanglement. Any snooping attempt shatters the quantum link and flags the intruder, or ultra-sensitive detectors picking up gravity ripples, magnetic anomalies, or subtle signals with unmatched accuracy. Even orbital quantum processors for tasks demanding compute muscle too hefty for launch. These won't hit shelves tomorrow, but they're drawing nearer. And this cooling breakthrough stands as a vital enabler. Technological advancements are progressing at a pace that surprises many. Artificial intelligence is now capable of forecasting recovery from spinal cord injuries through everyday blood analyses. The key lies in nuanced blends of biomarkers linked to nerve repair, signs of inflammation, growth elements, levels of immune cells, and metabolic signals. On their own, these markers aren't highly indicative. Yet, through machine learning, the crucial patterns emerge. By feeding the system data from countless patient results, it discerns which indicators point to healing and which signal lasting damage. This isn't mere theory. It directly influences medical choices. When the blood analysis suggests limited recovery, bold steps become justified, like cutting-edge treatments, operations, or rigorous therapy programs. Conversely, if it indicates strong potential for improvement, a more cautious approach works best, steering clear of extra hazards and allowing the body's own processes to take over. At present, physicians base such calls on the wound's nature, site, extent, and scan results, though these don't always align neatly with final outcomes. Individuals with comparable damages might end up with wildly varying progressions. Biomarker insights from blood provide an extra layer of detail. It's another vital clue, leading to sharper forecasts and smarter strategies. Plus, these tests are inexpensive, commonplace, and already integrated into regular protocols. No fancy gear or dedicated setups required. Simply dispatch the specimen to a facility, perform the evaluation, and receive the findings. Once the AI framework is confirmed and cleared for use, it turns into a routine instrument. All spinal cord injury cases would include this blood check. The model would produce a forecast. Clinicians would rely on it to shape care plans. Gradually, results get better as therapies align more precisely with each person's profile. Apple is overhauling the iPhone's core design to prioritize AI functionality from the ground up. Today's models feature distinct processors, the CPU for broad computations, the GPU for visual rendering, and the neural engine for AI computations. As artificial intelligence takes center stage in every phone activity, however, this divided setup breeds wastefulness. Information shuttles across chips, consuming time and energy, delays build up, power usage spikes. The overhaul merges it all into a single, cohesive chip setup, embedding AI boosts throughout. The CPU incorporates AI-tuned sections. The GPU weaves in neural capabilities. Storage is tailored for demanding AI tasks with rapid access. The whole framework is engineered with machine learning in mind. This enables device-based AI that's quicker and less power-hungry. Features like speech identification, photo analysis, instant language conversion, and smart suggestions all process right there. No uploading to servers needed. Zero wait times, zero worries about personal data escaping the phone. Efficiency gains also extend battery endurance. It's Apple's way of tackling the AI surge, while Google and Microsoft lean on cloud-powered AI. Impressive, yet tied to network access. Apple aims for onboard processing, all self-contained, internet optional. This aligns with their emphasis on user privacy. It readies them for an era of pervasive AI. Apps will all harness it. Interactions will all involve learning algorithms. The device evolves from a mere tool into a proactive companion that reads your intentions, aware of context, flexible, and tailored to you. Innovative wetsuit fabrics are cutting down on shark bite harm. This stems from experiments conducted by marine experts. 4 distinct fabrics, crafted to withstand shark assaults rather than stop them outright, since bites are what sharks naturally inflict. Still, these fabrics lessen the damage's impact, spread out the pressure, block fangs from sinking too far, and curb bleeding. Lab trials using live sharks showed these fabrics markedly curbed injuries versus typical neoprene. This is significant, as shark incidents, though uncommon, are on the rise. Greater numbers of folks hitting the waves for surfing, diving, swimming, and sharks, behaving as they naturally do. The majority of incidents aren't driven by hunting instincts. Rather, sharks often probe out of curiosity or misidentification. Yet, these exploratory nips can still lead to serious wounds, significant bleeding, harm to tissues, and occasionally fatal results. Superior gear for protection can preserve lives. It doesn't erase dangers entirely. No solution can, yet it lessens the harm's extent. What might otherwise prove deadly becomes something one can endure. These suits feature multiple layers. The exterior ones guard against scraping and slicing. The interior ones cushion blows. Certain versions incorporate rigid panels to redirect fangs. Some rely on extremely strong molecular weight fibers that resist tearing. The aim is to develop wetsuits that seem and feel ordinary while offering defense. Surfers and divers won't opt for cumbersome shielding, but they'll choose a standard-appearing suit that's designed to withstand bites. Should this technology gain wider use, deaths from shark encounters would drop not due to a reduction in occurrences, but thanks to improved results in those that happen. Biotar is now being transformed into renewable power sources and systems for trapping carbon. Biotar emerges as a residue from the gasification of biomass. Heating plant-based matter in environments with minimal oxygen causes it to decompose into gaseous, liquid, and solid components. The gases serve as fuel for generating power. The liquids yield bio-oils. The solids produce biochar. However, biotar also appears a viscous, hazardous, and challenging to manage side product. In the past, it was treated as refuse, discarded or incinerated poorly, posing an unresolved issue. Innovative methods now process biotar into biocarbons, akin to activated carbon with vast surface areas and porosity, ideal for filtering, chemical reactions, and storing carbon. This involves controlled heating through pyrolysis. The biotar further decomposes. Harmful elements evaporate and can be collected or combusted without pollution. The leftover is enduring carbon. It finds applications in manufacturing. It can be interred to act as a carbon storage. It can be blended into earth to enhance soil quality. No longer mere refuse, it's now a valuable item. This elevates biomass gasification from a borderline approach to a practical one. Financial viability strengthens when all byproducts hold worth. Ecological benefits grow as hazardous leftovers turn into beneficial substances that aid in carbon storage. The carbon within biotar originated from vegetation. Plants had extracted it from the air, converting it to durable biocarbon and sequestering it long-term or utilizing it keeps that carbon out of circulation. It's no full remedy for global warming, but it forms a key element, a method to extract CO2 from the cycle while yielding practical resources and fuel. Subterranean pathways for electrons are transforming efforts to remediate contamination. Long ago, the view held that ground-dwelling bacteria degraded toxins right where they lived. Breakdown occurred wherever bacteria were present. Elsewhere, contaminants lingered. Recent studies reveal, however, that electrical charges move across soil for considerable spans. Certain minerals, carbon compounds, and unique microbes create pathways that conduct electricity. Charges produced by bacteria in one area can journey several meters via these channels to access toxins elsewhere. The contaminants get diminished, dismantled, or nullified by charges that started remotely. This shifts perspectives on biological cleanup. Polluted areas don't require bacteria at every tainted point. Instead, they demand these conductive systems. Charge movement. Once these pathways are set up, remediation extends broadly. Engineers can facilitate this by incorporating electron-conducting minerals, deploying microbes that build conductive threads, or boosting levels of organic material. The ground evolves into a power network where charges serve as the purifying force. Toxins throughout the network undergo breakdown from charges circulating within. This also implies that passive remediation, the natural decline of pollution over time sans human input, is more potent than previously assumed. Charge transfer could be purifying contaminants in undetected manners. Locations we previously dismissed as chronically polluted could actually be recovering gradually via subsurface electron exchange. This doesn't imply we should overlook environmental hazards, but it indicates that natural processes possess additional mechanisms for combating toxins beyond what our current simulations predict. In nanoscale conduits, water adopts an unusual pre-melting condition, exhibiting both solid and fluid characteristics simultaneously. Such findings stem from sophisticated nuclear magnetic resonance research. When H2O is restricted to ultra-narrow voids, slimmer than a viral particle, its behavior turns peculiar. The particles fail to solidify abruptly. They resist melting decisively. Instead, there's a spectrum of thermal conditions where the substance remains somewhat structured, akin to frozen form, and somewhat chaotic like a fluid. These phases overlap, with particles oscillating between configurations. Overall, the material defies categorization as purely rigid or flowing. It's a hybrid intermediary. This phenomenon is crucial for grasping hydration in living organisms. Cellular structures abound with such tiny enclosures. Hydration squeezed amid lipid barriers within protein conduits or in the dense cellular core. This isn't ordinary free-flowing water, it's restricted hydration displaying altered traits. It influences protein conformation, lipid layer operations, and cellular homeostasis. Insights into these pre-melting phases clarify occurrences that standard water traits fail to explain, such as extreme undercooling, vitreous phases, and irregular spreading. Life forms rely on these quirks. Natural selection has molded organisms to leverage the odd dynamics of enclosed hydration. Astronomical modeling that formerly demanded massive computing clusters can now operate on everyday portables. This relies on emulation techniques, not exhaustive computations, but swift stand-ins. Scientists have fed artificial intelligence systems with data from intricate universe-scale runs. These systems absorb the trans-galaxy assembly, cosmic framework development, dark energy groupings. After preparation, they produce comparable results at blazing speeds. Rather than days on elite hardware, outcomes emerge in moments via ordinary machines. Such advancements open cosmology to broader access. Emerging scholars can probe variable ranges, validate theories, and refine ideas rapidly. No more queuing for high-end processing slots, no requirement for affiliation with resource-heavy labs. Pretty much anyone equipped with a solid notebook can execute universe models. Accuracy isn't flawless. Stand-ins involve simplifications. Yet for numerous applications, they're sufficiently reliable and evolving steadily. Successive emulator versions incorporate deeper physical principles and sharper resolutions. The divide between approximations and comprehensive runs diminishes. Herein lies the strength of AI in boosting research computations. From costly full-scale exercises, one crafts affordable proxies. Proxies distill the essence sans recalculating each formula. The method extends to atmospheric forecasting, flow mechanics, substance engineering, any domain where heavy modeling hampers thorough probing. Develop a proxy. Deploy it for investigation. Confirm pivotal findings through complete exercises. This blended strategy propels progress. Greater numbers of experts engage. Additional concepts undergo scrutiny. Research tempo surges. September 2025 brings 6G processors beaming data at 100 gigabits per second, adhesives for skeletal transplants, devices fabricating viable bone tissue, cooling units slashing quantum processor warmth by a factor of 10,000, machine intelligence forecasting vertebral trauma outcomes via bloodstream analysis, Apple re-architecting smartphones for AI-centric designs, dive gear fabrics that lessen shark attack damage, biomass tar transformed into valuable carbon matter, subterranean electron pathways remediating contaminants, hydration in minuscule passages persisting as solid and fluid together, universe modeling executing on portables courtesy of AI proxies. Every innovation serves as an instrument. Every instrument unlocks fresh uses. Every use reshapes feasibility, with the velocity of transformation surging, not steadily, but at an escalating compound rate. Innovations layering upon innovations, findings propelling further advances. Breakthroughs. The speed is overwhelming, the ramifications profound, and we're only just beginning to grasp the potentials these technologies can unlock.